Maybe. Where's transition button? There we go. All right. Welcome everybody to MogTalk. If you've never seen MogTalk before, it's a show based around the Final Fantasy XIV community, discussing everything from Savage Raiding to Chocobo Racing. This feels good. This feels real good. I mean, I don't know what else to say, guys. This feels amazing. It's been so long. The last 5 months being completely just in the background, just looking over, hoping to catch a Twitch stream and see someone playing and figure out what's actually happening in the community and the world and everything else. And now I'm here with 3 friends. The only thing I gotta do is have a conversation with you guys. This feels really good.
Hey.
So, before we get too much into it, let them introduce themselves, my nice good friends here. We'll start with, I guess we'll go clockwise. Arthars, could you tell everybody who you are?
Yo, guys, what's up, man? It's Arthars. Yo, nice to have you back, man, Frosty. We miss you, I miss you. Thank you so much for inviting me back on your first show back. It's an honor. Thank you so much.
You know, you've been on 20 to 30 shows or something like that. So
really?
You're a pretty static part of MogTalk, so it felt like it made sense to bring you on.
The many?
Yeah, I think you are literally the #1 guest on the show. Like the most recurring, not the best guest. All right, I'm not gonna say you're the best guest.
You didn't have to tell him he wasn't the best.
Yeah, you don't have to say that, man.
Gosh.
No, one of my top picks for guest, obviously. But someone who hasn't actually been on the show before, complete opposite side of the spectrum. But we tried before, it didn't work out, but now we managed to do it. Rook, can you tell everybody who you are?
Yeah, it's so good to be here. Thank you so much. As a car goes loudly by my window, perfect timing. Thank you so much for having me, Frosty. It's been sad without you and without MogTalk here in the space, especially given the advent of PvP and everything that's happened.
We're gonna talk. We'll talk about it. But yeah, no, it's a blast bringing you on, Rook. I remember we did the World Race event, not the most recent one, because that was one where I was the first time that I was pretty much completely absent from the event, and it felt really weird. But the one before
we also felt really weird. We also felt really weird without you. Yeah.
Yes, we were all confused. We had to have like support groups. No one knew what to do. It was okay. It was all right. We found our way without you, but you know, your spirit kept us going. But no, I'm so glad to be here. Honestly, I've long loved MogTalk, so I'm happy to be here talking with everybody today.
No, I'm happy.
I knew it was going to happen.
Sorry,
it only took it took what, 3 minutes? 3 minutes for it to happen. All right, MrHappy, tell everybody who you are.
I don't want to. I want to talk about you. I'm MrHappy. I play games and people, I guess, care. That's about it. I'm a big fan. I have a MogTalk shirt.
You do.
It's one that you hate.
It's the shittiest shirt I've ever made.
I should have worn it today, but I was busy morning. I wasn't thinking about it because it's hanging up there. I wear it like once every other week. I'm just like, oh, I keep Frosty with me.
Oh,
I can stream with his shirt, and it's like he's here.
Yeah, I just noticed the chat window is completely blank, so I'll work on that a little bit here.
No, that's because we're the only ones here.
We're the only ones here. There's no one chatting in chat. But I can work on that in studio mode. And I do want to go ahead and apologize to everyone if there is a little roughness or it's a little bit crazy. You know, during the show things don't work. I still, besides this, and I wanted to do this really badly, but besides this show, I also have a lot of stuff going on in the background that has hindered my ability to put on quality content. But we're going to try it anyways. We don't have to do quality content. We're in the Final Fantasy XIV community. We just fucking rough it, right? That's how we do it?
Oh, we do some things. Yeah. There's some things that certainly happen.
We duct tape stuff together and just hope for the best, honestly.
Yep. But yeah, no, I appreciate everybody being so nice, you know, coming back and being able to kind of talk with all of you again. Arthars, you said MrHappy, you guys had questions. I'll let you ask whatever questions you want to ask.
How's
Did I
the
say
how's the
Maybe.
how's the last 5 months regarding
been-
your kid?
It's been insane. It has literally been one of the most ridiculous things I've had to go through ever in my life.
Wait, ridiculous? What do you
it's
mean ridiculous?
It's just like there's so much to it, man. There is so much to like taking care of a kid, and you would think, holy crap, we're in 2022. Somebody has like a book or something, right? They have some sort of like, hey, here's a
Yeah, there's a
guide.
few
This
books.
stuff makes sense. But like it's all anecdotal bullshit, and you just have to hope any of it becomes relevant to anything you're doing. And so it's parenting has been just an exploration of figuring out what my child is. I guess who my child
Like
is.
no
yeah.
window for you to even like do anything else?
Well,
like
not
play
really.
games?
No,
Really?
some people might not know this, but I also work outside of this. I'm a manager, an IT manager at that, and I work about 50 to 60 hours a week doing
Oh my
that.
gosh.
So
I know that life.
yeah, my life is pretty busy, and so between that and having Ellie, it's been busy, very busy. And then last week we were going to come back, and I want to say this first off. It means so much that you guys were accommodating and able to work with me on that, because my AC went out Thursday, and for those that don't know, I do live in Arizona. And so when your AC goes out, it's pretty much like life or death. I need to figure out how to amend this situation.
But it's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat. You
Don't
know?
even.
So is an oven.
It's literally an oven, and it's pretty bad. And there's also, because of supply chain issues and shortages everywhere, of course, they didn't have the part my AC needed, and it's been about a week and a half, and it's still not fixed. But we figured something out to at least get us by. I think by the end of the show, I might be in like the high 80s for the temperature in the room, but Fahrenheit for those who are unfamiliar. Fahrenheit.
No Celsius.
Yeah.
You should have just had like a cooler next to you full of ice packs, and then you could just pull them out over the course of the show, like swap them, put a new one on.
Even better, you get the cooler and you put it with the ice, but then you just like put it on the desk in front of you and just open it, so it's just like blasting you in the face with cold air.
Yeah, swamp cooler.
Mm.
Swamp cooler. And so we have like a professional one of those where you fill it up with water, and then it just blows that air, and then you could throw ice bags in there and stuff. It'll just be cold water and just like throwing that humidity on top of everything as well. So we have one of those. But it's when you're getting up to like 110, 115 degrees, it can only do so much. But that being said, again, it's been crazy. I appreciate everybody being so patient with me while I kind of just disappeared from everything. There's been so much that has gone on within the game community that affects me that is extremely important. But unfortunately, the timing just, you know what? Ellie's a little bit more important, so I had to so I had to make sure I took care of her. There's been a ridiculous world race, ridiculous ultimate from what I understand, and then there's been a whole new PvP mode that people who hate PvP don't really hate it anymore. Maybe they've gone back to hating it. We'll talk about that a little bit. No, okay.
Not me, at least. I still love it. I'm still in it.
And then the story finalized, and we never got a chance to talk about that either. And then we're going on to a whole nother story in the game. There's just so much crap going on in Final Fantasy XIV that I have had to just sit back and be like Squidward in his room looking out at SpongeBob and Patrick Star running across the field or whatever, and just wishing I could.
Did you even play Endwalker at all?
No,
Actually,
I
now you
did.
talk about it.
I
5
did.
months.
So I'll let you know exactly at the point things kind of turn, because I had some other drama, some other real life things that really took me out of like focus and being able to do anything before Ellie came, and I had to prep for her coming as well. The world race was for Savage. The first Savage tier was kind of the cutoff for me. So as soon as we finished that up and we were done, and that went so well. Holy crap! Like I don't even know why that went so well. I think we had like 17,000 people watching it, and we were able to raise not as much as they did for the ultimate race, but a pretty decent amount for children's hospitals, and it was pretty cool. And right after that, I played a little bit. I got into it. I still haven't touched Savage.
Ooh.
That's fair. You've been progging Baby Savage.
What are you doing after this, Frosty?
Well, I'm relieving Kerr, so she's constantly.
We have data center travel now, so everyone can band together.
That's
for
a whole
Frosty
nother thing to
Savage.
talk about. All right, so a lot of interesting stuff are happening now and are coming up within the next month or so. That's absolutely worthwhile conversation pieces. And so this is a great month for me. I'm hoping that we can do this and we can see if doing this show every week, if it's going to be that much of a burden towards everything else that's going in life. Hopefully not, because this is so fun. This has been like, this last 10 minutes, last 30 minutes or so has been bliss. You guys don't even understand.
Man. Welcome back.
Welcome back, Frosty.
Thank you. Thank you. That being said, one of the most, I don't even know if it's interesting, but I guess it is. It's like watching trash TV, I feel like, in some regard. It's this drama with a billboard.
Oh, God.
I love this. I'm not going to lie. I've been living. This has been so wild.
This is the third time I've had to talk about this damn billboard.
I'm sure it's been talked about so much by now, right?
Yeah.
And so, for the few people who might not actually know what's going on, can somebody explain what the billboard situation is?
Nobody wants to do it.
Happy should start first, yeah.
Okay,
I
fine.
Hap starts.
All right, so there are many role-playing venues throughout the various servers of Final Fantasy XIV. They range from cafes and nightclubs to just chill hangout spots, but one in particular decided that their customer base, they needed to expand it. So they put up billboards in Texas and allegedly California. I'm not sure of the validity of that claim. Real-life billboards with their Discord link, Twitch link, and a bunch of Final Fantasy XIV assets, which is incredibly weird because of all the people that would see the billboard. It would definitely not be people on the highway. It would be people online. So there's a lot of controversy around the use of Square Enix assets on a public physical billboard on top of some data mine and modded aspects of the screenshot in question, as well as the potential of an 18+ service that said nightclub in-game offers, which isn't disclosed.
That's pretty much, that's like a summary right there. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, and this is probably why it's been such a big conversation piece recently. One, using Square Enix assets, just in general. Let's not just say the modded part. Let's just say, or the data mine part. Just Square Enix logo, like Final Fantasy XIV logo, stuff like that on a billboard in a physical location people can see while they're driving. That's a no-go, right?
So,
okay.
It's a gray area of legality from what we've seen from some YouTubes, where technically there are certain policies where, like, taking assets from the website or other things that are directly Square Enix or promoting in such a way that it seems as though Square Enix itself is legally backing this could be pursued legally if they chose to. Right, but there have been actually some really interesting video breakdowns from lawyers talking about this recently, where really ultimately it's up to their discretion in this regard and whether or not they feel like this has caused damage to their brand or to their overall kind of, the things that they want to be affiliated with 14. Mm-hmm. So it's not strictly illegal, but there are definitely, like, fair usage doesn't necessarily 100% cover this, and there are a lot of other things that, as far as I've seen, that it seems as though make this something where you are at least opening yourself up to the potential of legal action by doing this.
Arthars wants to explode right now.
Oh, man. Look, man, I've played this game for so long already. I lost count already, 9-10 years, including one, I don't know. the first thing that came to my mind when I saw the billboard was I thought it was funny. I thought it was spontaneous. Whether legal stuff come in, whether copyright usage come in, whether I don't even know whether it was, to be honest, there's so many things in the game that even a long-term player like myself, even though I don't really explore the part of the game that much, but I do play the game. When I look at the billboard, when I look at the character model, it never occurred to me that anything in there raised even like a red flag to me. I just thought it was funny. I thought it was spontaneous. I was like, wow, you know what? I should check out the event. And on the billboard itself, it didn't give me any vibe or information that also includes ERP service. That is after you join the Discord. I mean, they have the whole Discord link there, right? But on first look, looking at just the billboard as from an advertisement, you know, looking as like a consumer, looking at an advertisement, I thought that was funny. I thought that was good. So my first impression was, I'm gonna check this place out just because I think it's fun. And also data center, they know what they were doing. They choose the perfect time to put it up. You got DC travel coming in. So I thought it was brilliant. I thought overall, I look at it, I was like, these guys know what they are doing. It's pretty smart. But then the moment I go to Twitter, right, and then I start streaming, and then people start talking about this, the first thing that came out wasn't about, are you gonna check out the event? It looks fun. It's about all this legal stuff that people is talking about. And then I was sitting here like, yo, Square Enix or Final Fantasy XIV or even Yoshi P himself got 10,000 other things to worry about, man. I don't think they were specifically... Now, of course, I'm not saying that they didn't do anything wrong. Based on the explanation that, you know, you guys talk about, yes, it's great, it's TOS, it is. But what I'm trying to say is, I don't think they will, or I don't think they should really go in. What are they going to get out of this? Are they going to sue those people? Going to spend tens of thousands of dollars to sue those people? And what are you going to get out of it? I don't think there's anything malicious into it. I don't think there's anything such a big deal about it, right? And then you go to Reddit, you go to Twitter, and then you see all those Reddit lawyers came out, talk about how much it costs, what are the potential damages. Oh, they're going to go down. I'm like, no, it's not going to go. Square Enix is most likely going to give a call to the billboard if they haven't already. Take it down. We think it's a little bit crossed the line. Can you take it down? I don't think they will go to the fact that please give me the details of the person. We need to track them down. We need to sue. No, I don't think so, right? And then the billboard guy is probably like, yeah, sure, okay, bring it down. And that's pretty much the end of the story already. But somehow it went that far that so many people have so many say into it, especially like lawyers. And to make things even worse, if you go to the venue, people are actually harassing the whole FC. It's actually crazy. Now, I think if this is just Crystal Data Center, right? Or this is just like the RP community, right? Most of the RP players will look at it and like, that's fun, let's go check it out. But those people who don't even do RP at all, for those people who just play Final Fantasy, they look at it, they will be piling on it, they go to the site, they create alts, they create characters, they make a stand. That's harassment. It's funny how the community think that this bunch of people are doing the wrong thing, and then they themselves take it in their own hand to do things that also break the TOS. And I'm sitting here like, what are you guys trying to do? And then, of course, again, back to Twitter, I legit seen people say, this guy deserve it. They advertise it. They wanted the attention. Here's the attention that you get. I don't think I did anything wrong. I'm sitting here like, these people can't even tell black and white. And rather than saying that the billboard create a controversy, I would say the community took this the wrong way and then do something that is wrong themselves, and they themselves think they were given, they themselves think that they were empowered because of the billboard, because of the owners that fucked up, rather than they themselves don't realize that they are actually the one making a big deal and then making this whole situation worse than it is. Tomorrow is going to get worse. Actually, not tomorrow. 8 hours later.
It's today. Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's going to get worse.
Today.
This event is going to have people who truly want to go there and enjoy. And then this event is going to have haters. And then this event is going to have a lot of odds. This event is going to peak this whole drama later in 8 hours later. I expect a lot of reporting today. I expect a lot of people going to get banned today. I expect a lot of people saying dumb shit, shouting dumb shit, doing dumb shit in game. And I totally expect a GM to show up today. So I'm 100% going to be there for that. Yeah. You're going, Frosty? Are you going, Happy?
No,
I'm
not going. So for me, the fascination about this strictly came from how close it came to being accurate within the material usage rights. because that's why, because I actually tweeted at Legal Eagle, who is a lawyer who produces legal content, but someone who actually does gaming related legal content, Hogue Law, produced a 45-minute breakdown of all the legal documents involved and laws that could maybe have been crossed the line. Even he said at worst they tell him to take it down. Like it's so close to being allowed that it's just kind of a shock to the system, if anything, that somebody would go this far for, you know, an in-game venue at most. And that's really all it was for me. But to the thing of people feeling empowered, we see this not just in Final Fantasy XIV. This has kind of just been the internet for the last however many years. And it's strange how much people look to validation of other people in situations like this, or they want to feel empowered or validated in situations like this. And I don't understand the fascination or the power trip with it. It's a whole nother topic on top of the billboard itself that we could do a whole show about if we really wanted to, but it's nuts. That's why people say influencers, as much as some people may hate the term, need to be careful about even the little things that they say or do. If an influencer were to hop on this and go over there and be like, hey, come join and harass or something, it would be a disaster. But these people did it without that. So it's just so many avenues, so many.
It's sad too, because so many of the people involved in this didn't even know this was happening, right? Like you hear so many of the FC members who are just going like, we didn't even know they were getting billboards. And I've talked a little bit about this when it's come up even on stream and stuff. The fact that like, I'm not that surprised that somebody did it. Because look at recently how big of a thing it's been on social media, like with Twitch and with gaming companies, to be like, hey, we're going to feature a creator on a billboard. We've had these big campaigns with like Twitch where in Times Square, they've been putting people up on billboards. And then you see on social media, people taking pictures like, look, I'm on a billboard. You know, like I got to do a mental health campaign with ArenaNet and Guild Wars 2 and was on a billboard and was like, this is so cool. So like, we all want to see the things we care about, I think, get recognition or feel like we've left some little part of ourselves in the world, you know? So I'm not that surprised that eventually somebody decided to go, hey, we want to do this ourselves and just make it happen. So in that regard, I don't necessarily think it's all that wild. I mean, yes, granted, I think especially as content creators, we spend so much time worrying about like what is going to get DMCA'd, what's going to be taken down, what's going to get copyright striked, so when I saw this happen, it was amusing to me because I was like, they just did it. They just YOLO. I would have spent a whole year worrying about this, like, and they just did it. And I actually found this all to be really educational. Even that, I saw that's the video I was referring to, Haps, the one by Hogue Law, H-O-E-G is I think his name. And I thought it was so fascinating even listening to his breakdown of copyright in terms of service, because he goes through all the different affiliated documents. So like if you yourself are a creator and you're curious about these things, I would suggest even just watching that video from that standpoint, because this doesn't just apply to billboards, it applies to everything, right? It applies to any usage, even if you're just somebody who's trying to get Tumblr famous for screenshots, or Twitter, you know, you're trying to like have some sort of fan account. There's a lot of interesting things in that. But as everybody's pointed out, I mean, like, don't harass people. Like, if Square Enix wants to take action, they have more than enough money and power to take action on this. Like, we don't have to do it ourselves. If something comes
like,
up,
I'm sorry.
No, go.
I'm sorry, because I totally agree. Like, all these things, they are professionals. Like Rook says, if Square Enix want to take action, it's up to Square Enix. It's not up to you. It's not up to you. You want to attend the event, you go for it. You don't think it's the most I think maybe you can do is you report it, right? If you think you don't know or you are wondering, you report it. Let them do it. Don't go and do it yourself. Don't use it as a justification to be toxic to them and want to shut it down. At the end of the day, they are just like Rook says, they just YOLO it because maybe they also have the passion with the game. Would I have done it? Maybe. Would I have done it without thinking? Maybe not. But if you think about it from just a player standpoint, data center is coming in. We have this event coming up. Fuck it, let's put a billboard. It will be funny, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's spontaneous, it's bold. But if it crosses the line, Square Enix, if they want to take care of it, they have all the lawyers, they have all the rules to go take action. Us as a player, whether you attend or you not, you report, that's totally fine. I'm surprised. I'm not sure when this billboard came up. yesterday when I go do PF with Zeno on Crystal, right? I just happened to log out there because I want to be, like I said later, I want to be there, so I log out there, right? I'm surprised even until today there was still movement going on. Apparently there were people shooting cannons in it, people putting baits on it. There's like alts with like pools close standing on there. I'm like, you can't do that, man. You just can't do that. That's legit harassment. I'm not sure whether the FC will take action. I hope they do, but we'll find out later. Yeah.
I mean, this gets into like that funny territory too. I mean, we've all created some sort of Twitter ad or something and had assets on it, and not like ad maybe, but like posted on Twitter. We posted stuff, and it's technically not our assets, right? So there's probably some gray in there too, but we don't really think about it. One of the big things about this is that it's an ERP event, right? And
well, it's not an event. That free company has a service that you can enlist according to their Discord. But the event itself is not
it's
like
not
that.
the event.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So they're selling ERP services, which I think, at least, Mike, you were in the room with me during FanFest. Which one?
Oh, no, not this again. Oh, I don't remember this. The stupid question from FanFest. Oh, the brothel question.
Because they actually brought it up.
It was 2018. I remember.
And we all know what question you guys talking about.
There was so at North American Fan Fest, we had a freaking media event. We all got to just ask open form questions, and some guy from a website that barely anybody cares about because it just asked dumb shit like this decided to ask about brothels in Final Fantasy 14. And it wasn't even that he asked. He got an answer and he just kept going like, okay, but, and finally, I don't remember who said, they said, you're done. And then they moved on to another question because the dude was so annoying. And all of us were like, I remember, who was I sitting next to? Mary? He's like, I've never wanted to punch someone in the face before at an event like this. I think this guy's going to get jumped after the fact.
My gosh.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. And Yoshida had to give the most like straight answer he could, talk about the legalities and how the countries have things. It was so long. It took up so much valuable time and actual real questions, or from real questions. And so it just reminded me of that because, you know, I guess Square Enix has to think about that in some way, shape, or form as well. Is that this is technically something that's a little bit of a weird area, even in game, that this stuff happens, and it just highlights that, and it puts like that kind of shade on the game again.
They did address it, right? In the TOS, they did talk about it, right? Like consent, private. They did say something about it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and like that's something that I'll say, right? Like, so I do everything in the game from role playing to hardcore endgame content, like, and recently PvP as well, which I couldn't say before, but now I really do everything. So I enjoy it all, right? And I honestly think, like, as somebody who also really enjoys tabletop, who really enjoys collaborative, you know, endeavors and writing and creativity with people, I have seen some of the coolest events in this game. I have seen role-playing across the board from, you know, like very, very PG stuff to stuff that is more mature for whatever reason, be that violent or be that something like violence or something like ERP, right? And to me, it's like, no matter what, in every game you play, there are going to be adults that play this game. The way that those adults want to connect and want to talk or want to create stories or want to whatever, explore whatever about them. Like, there are so many things that you might want to explore within the safety or parameters of a fantasy world. You know, that's fine with me. I don't really believe in the shaming of stuff like ERP. Like, do what you want to do it with consent, do it with people who are old enough. Like, but the big thing that we all have to remember, and this goes for everything from mods to this, right, is that, like, this game is a public service. There is a wide range of people engaging in this game of a wide range of ages, and that, like, we all need to be discreet. So the big thing with this is that even with stuff like you apply for Discord partnership, right? You can't have any mature stuff on your Discord. You can't have a mature lock channel. Like, your chances are much lower of getting in the terms of games like this, right? If you're going to be advertising something or publicly putting yourself out there, or even visibly having stuff like mods displayed, they have said time and time and time again that many things that are in a gray area or technically not allowed by terms of service, they may not choose to stop, but if you drive them to the point where they have to, because it's again affecting the public image of the game or getting into legality issues in countries where like Yoshi P said, like that could cause problems for them, that is when they will take action. So I always just encourage everybody. I mean, one, even with this billboard stuff, this is not reflective, whatever you think of it, of the role-playing community as a whole. And there is so much interesting creativity in this community. They do so many unique community building events, and it's so much fun. To make your own content within this incredible world. But like at the same time, you know, engage in what you want to engage in, but do it discreetly. Don't get it to the point where everybody's fun gets stopped, you know, because like it's become so visible or such a contentious problem in the community that it has to have action taken against it. So stuff like this billboard as well, I think brought into question how visibly we demonstrate or to some extent flaunt, although, you know, I mean, the things that Square Enix might allow us to do, and this has been a hot topic with even third-party tools discussions recently and other stuff as well.
And on one more note, the people standing outside harassing do not also represent the community. They definitely represent themselves, because this happened with Asmon, where people were going and following and people. It's just this subset of like, I don't know what goes on through this thing between the ears. But there's just a subset of people in the world, and we have them here too, that are representative of it. So as funny as a great community, by the way, is, these people will do it to any event they possibly could. That's just who they are. So
it's
damn them, report them, and yeah, I hope the FC is as many memes as we got, and FC should definitely go out of their way to pick up some names and report.
Yeah, absolutely. This whole situation has just been the Final Fantasy XIV. Again, trash TV to watch on Twitter and see how things were going. And if people get banned, Square Enix has full authority to ban whoever the hell they want and do whatever they want. So if they feel like something is not good for their game, they'll take their action the way that they want to. If they don't want their game associated with what was on that billboard, they'll handle it. They are a big company. They can really do whatever they want.
Why does everyone keep calling them a small indie company then? I don't get
it. All right, so I'm going to try something. A handful of people know that this has started recently. MogTalk has had this as an option, and so we're going to try the ad incentive revenue thing. I know people hate it. People, you know, if it's too shitty, we'll throw it in the garbage and everything else. But we're going to try that on the podcast. We're going to try it in format. It does look like I have some level of control. Go ahead. Yeah.
Just remember, you're helping the baby, so no complaining.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of it, is that and the $3,000 for AC I'm having to spend. But that being said, I'm going to try this real quick, see if I can manage this ad break thing to work well with the MogTalk concept. And that means taking a quick break. So, guys, we'll be back in like 4-ish minutes, 3 to 4 minutes. So hang tight while I press this button and hope everything works. If you're subbed, you'll hear wonderful pulse music. All right, be right back, guys.
Yay!
Oh, hold on. Now
Break time.
I got it. Welcome back, everybody. I hope that wasn't too painful. It seemed to go pretty well from what I could see. We're all back and alive. We had lots of really interesting conversations that you guys didn't get to hear, and I'm so sorry about that, but you know what? Just how it is, man. This is how it is. So other things that I want to talk about. Well, we've done 40 minutes of billboard, so we're gonna let it sleep for a little bit. Oh, Happy doesn't care if we're not talking about billboards, apparently. So we're just
Happy's like, this is all I wanted to talk about today. Bye.
Yeah. I'm out. I'm out. But there are some interesting things. Oh, the cat, of course. We might spend the rest of the show just talking about cats. We could do that too. Cat girls at the billboard event would probably be a very interesting topic. But that being said, there's one huge thing that I wanted to hit is I'm trying to figure out the order. I'm going to go with story. I want to talk a little bit about the story. We don't have to go into a really in-depth conversation because I do have a show planned for that at the end of the month, by the way. Secret and insider information for everybody watching right now. We have a pretty interesting show coming up near the end of the month talking about story. And it's probably one that people who have followed the story shows with MogTalk would be interested in watching. That's all I'll say. But Saga's ended, right? We're done with this whole Hydaelyn versus Zodiark thing, and this happened way back in December. We were done with that, but we never had a show on it to really talk about it. Then we had the next patch, which went forward a little bit and showed us kind of the direction that we're going. Arthars, you've been keeping up with the story too, haven't you?
Not really, but I mean,
Really?
the last two expansion I've been like a little bit more into, because it's the finale, right? I want to know how it wraps up, right? So I do like actually check out a few cutscenes, actually replay a few times. Like, okay, I can't see through the whole expansion story, obviously. Like since Shadowbringer, since I started to want to care, I can't. So it's like I play my main, I see a few cutscenes. So for me, it's very fragmented, right? I play my main, I see this part. I play my second I see this part. And then I play my last I see this part. And then after that, I'm like, oh, okay, I get a whole picture, I guess. So that's how usually I go by it. I don't like go all the way from the start to the end. You know, I do a bit here, I do a bit there. So for me, yes, I do have an idea what is going on, but obviously I'm not the expert. So.
Okay, well, I'm not the expert either. I skim it. I'm probably better than you do. I do a lot better job with the story, I think, than you do, Arthars, from the sounds of it. But that being said, I know Happy's definitely very involved with the story, right? Yeah, and Rook's very involved with the story, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, by the way, spoilers. But if anybody cares about spoilers with the most recent patch, they're here. So my understanding is it seems like we're heading towards the dark shadow realm of the 13th in some way, right? Maybe?
It would appear that way.
Okay, that's what it looked like, yeah. There was a question I had right at the very end of it. Did they tease... They said they weren't going to bring Xenos back, right?
That's not Xenos.
Yeah. That's not Xenos.
Okay.
That's the Void Scent that theoretically became his like Reaper fusion.
What?
So the Reaper lore is you make a contract with a Void Scent, essentially. And but what that Void Scent is a question. Some people think it's your reflection of the 13th. Some people think it's just some sort of Void Scent that has a ether scent. We don't know. So this will actually be Reaper lore somewhere down the line once we find out what this thing is.
Yeah. I'm all aboard the tinfoil hat theory that it's your distorted, like Ardbert-esque reflection on the chart that has been, because if he couldn't get you to pay attention to him, I would not put it past Xenos to go to an entirely other realm of existence and find an almost you, but not quite, to then force to be his best friend.
I can see that. I don't know, it caught me off guard when I saw that, and I couldn't make sense of it completely because I don't follow it as deeply as, a lot of other people do.
I haven't got to that part. I have not got to that part.
You're spoiled, Arthars. You're screwed. Sorry,
no,
man.
It's fine. It's fine. That's interesting, okay? I haven't get to the part, yeah.
What's your understanding
I assume this is 6.2?
6.1. 6.1.
I'm sorry, 6.1. No, I only done until 6.0. I haven't done the 6.1. I haven't finished the story, so this is new to me.
That's
you only need to for the new trial, so you might want to catch up.
Yeah, for sure. Because okay, for me, right, when I finished the 6.0, and then we saw Gobez and the 4 Finch, right? Obviously, it does seem that we are going to the Void, aka the 13, right? Now, here's my problem / question. Is this a new journey, or is this still considered a continuation? For me, that is the thing that I want to know. Like, usually they go by story, end, expansion story end, and then they start building up, finalize it, and then at some point, like 0.3, they will start the new one, right? So are we now, did the Zodiac and the Hydaelyn arc really end already? Are we still in it? Are we still finishing the remnants of it, the remaining parts of it? And then by 6.3, then we start a new journey? Or is this already begin? So that's my question regarding the lore right now, right? Because I'm glad that we are done. But are we still in it? Is
No.
it gonna be new? That's for me. That's
No,
the main thing.
they've been very clear. Point 1 is the
Yeah.
beginning of the whole new arc. So there's
Okay,
no like
okay.
point 3 final boss technically like we normally get. Aloha, I
Mhm.
swear to God.
Yeah.
Cat nonsense
So-
is happening.
It's
You
been
know
happening
what's
the whole
funny?
time.
You know, at the end of 6.0, they're like, hey, all the Scions are going to go do their own thing, and we're going to go on this new adventure and make new friends and everything, and then we just start bringing all these guys back in, right? We're like, hey,
Exactly.
let's do
I'm
another
so
adventure,
pissed
guys!
when don't get me wrong, I like them. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to piss the people who like them off, right? But dude, I really expect brand new NPC. I want to see new faces. I want to see, you know, like they just play a small part. But every single time I see a quest and then we go find Y'shtola sleeping there, and then we see the trailer, we still see Estina. I'm like, are we done yet? At some point, Alice and Elfino is gonna come back. I'm like, I don't mind that, but I've seen enough of that. I want a brand new one. You know what I mean? Like now we are teasing going to the I don't even mind. Like just now when you guys, that's why I was quite interested at the very beginning part when you guys talk about the voice sending it. I'm like, I don't even mind if the new NPC that will bring us into this so-called maybe into the 13, I don't even mind whether it's an alternate or mirror version of Xeno. I wouldn't mind Xeno being my friend now, the new person that I talk to, the new person that bring me in. I wouldn't even mind that, rather than, you know, like Frosty say, we keep seeing them back. I thought we disbanded already.
And they're all like, hey, let's be secretive. We don't want people to see us together.
They do say that in 6.1 even. In 6.1 they're
do?
like, there's too many of us together right now.
I understand those feelings. I guess the way I'm kind of looking at it is I was surprised how quickly they jumped into the void stuff. Like, I won't lie. I knew it was coming. We had even the like bonus Shadowbringers, the role quests that then lead into those like bonus quests and the void quests and everything else. So it really seemed like it was on the horizon, but I was surprised that just so quickly they went into it. And I think they kind of wanted to get momentum going so that people didn't feel like, oh, well, the really important stuff is done, and now I guess we just kind of sit here for a while and do nonsense, and then maybe a real plot will happen again. Like, I'm actually glad they went whole ham, but Arthas, I'm right there with you. I really hope we actually get to explore some new characters and go elsewhere. This feels a little bit like them, I don't know, giving a few extra character beats. And I've really loved those character beats with the Scions. I think they've really, especially for like Y'shtola, it felt like we didn't get a whole bunch of really like personality moments with her in Endwalker because they were focusing on a lot of the other ensemble. And she's been such a huge character for so long, you know? But I like that they are giving her some flair. I like that we're getting these little moments and story beats. But I'm also hoping that this is like, Hydaelyn Zodiark is done. So all of this stuff that's looking back on the past, like the source of the world, the history, the ancients, everything, is essentially resolved. And that now we're looking forward to the future with like how we save these shards and how we create our own world moving forward. So I think that's kind of what they're doing, but it definitely still feels more tied to a lot of that other lore and stuff they've been building to in a way that I wasn't expecting so fast, honestly.
You know,
So Happy, you play FF11 as well, right? I actually
I
never
still
had a
do
chance.
occasionally.
Yeah, I don't have a chance to ask Happy this before. I always feel that for Final Fantasy XIV, the longer it drags like this, the more it, for me, I feel it hurts the game. Because there's too much dependency on the previous expansion. Now, 6.0 is so-called done with this first saga. I was hoping that 7.0 will be brand new, just like how Final Fantasy XI usually do their expansion. You know how
I
Final
haven't been
Fantasy
doing it
XI
that way in a while, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
The last two
But-
expansions for 11 have been continuations.
Yeah, but the beginning, don't you realize that for me, it's how an expansion should be? You go to a new continent, a new story, new NPC, and then you come back, and then, you know, I always felt like that is just better for the game, right? But I mean, I talk about this for like 9 years. Fine. Now this saga ends, great. Now we go into the new one. But looking at 6.1, looking at how they are, you know, the science broke up and we go back, it makes me feel like, oh God, so next time if 7.0 begin and new players want to play, are we going to tell them, okay, you will need to go through a realm reborn? You know, like...
Yeah. Yeah. So the big thing, I mean, so Final Fantasy XI does a lot of fragmented stories, but they do reuse characters. We see that with Shantoto and Treasures of Outer Gone. We see that with the Xylart being present in Chains of Promethea, and even when they finally went to Seekers of Adoulin, they often backtrack to other characters. I rather enjoy having characters that don't feel like they're just dropped because they want to do something new, because these characters still exist, and if their interests still align, then I'd prefer to see them continue in the story, especially ones that are absent for long periods of time or haven't gotten much in the way of character development or very limited. Varshan and Vritra definitely high on that list, so they are really the big character. I think that's development expands a lot in patch 6.1, and I think that's the focus. While we have some Scions along with us because they are still, interests still aligned, and Estinian we all expected because of Varshan and Vritra. I'd prefer to have that continuity than to not, because now they're not all pursuing one goal. They're all pursuing their own goals, and they're seeking each other's help in achieving that, because they're still the people they trust the most at the end of the day, as opposed to brand new people. But I suspect as time goes on, we do meet more people. We do meet new people. We have, and we still will. It's just in smaller chunks and not like a complete clean slate.
I agree. It's so tough because, Arthas, I absolutely get what you're saying about it. I think it can be really daunting for new players to come into the game and then feel like suddenly there's this huge wall of continuous story, or like we've seen more and more over time that they are adding in even more ties of, well, now this is a requirement for this, which is a requirement for this. So it's like you have to do all of the main story, which is already pretty lengthy, and then all of the side content as well. And for players like me that love story and love narrative and love that like really intense RPG linear narrative experience, I think it's a huge boon. But for many other players who want to get involved in the game and might just not want to have to spend those months catching up or like, running through, or they just really don't like story when they start, but maybe they come around to it, it can be something that's really daunting. So I've seen in like other MMOs that idea of almost more episodic expansions or like campaigns being really effective in that regard. But I've also seen it be something where then it's almost like you're completely detached. Every single thing is its own isolated thing. And like Haps was saying, characters that were hugely important just vanish and never ever have anything happen with them ever again. Parts of the world just completely die because that story and that zone aren't relevant at all to like the later expansions or stuff like that. So I think that this is a good point for them to do something like this. Like at some point in the game's lifespan, just like you said, they'll have to do like a cut where I think that players can skip ahead and still know what's happening to some extent and not feel as though, I think 14 as a beast is always going to have these ties, and it's part of why I love it, as in like the strong narrative continuity. But I do agree that like at some point with these chapters of these like mega stories, I think they'll have to have better entrance points for players who then can go back and play through if they love it and they want to, do the other stuff. And I thought this might be a cleaner cut too. It's tough because personally, I love it, but I know a lot of other people who have found that to be like a really big deterrent for them when what might actually be their entryway into the game is like the combat, the encounters, the, actual gameplay itself as opposed to the story.
PvP.
PvP.
You can say that now and we won't disagree. Everyone's still laughing, but we don't disagree technically anymore.
I'm going to say one other note that just side comment. I do like the story. I do like kind of what they're doing and everything else. But the one thing that I noticed, and I'm trying to just make sense out of it, is that we went into a vault to get treasure to help out a city, and we're like, all right, we're going to get that. Then we get to the end, and we feel really bad about it. And then instead of us like giving treasure to the city, they're like, oh yeah, it's our treasure. We're going to pull it at some time. At some point we're going to bring it out and help everyone. I guess now's a good time. We're here. Like, it felt kind of weird because I felt like they could have pulled that card a little bit before we went into that dungeon when those struggles were already happening. Yeah?
Yeah, it's pretty well explained. Varshan in his time explains what all of that amassed treasure is technically for.
Yeah.
But he's right. He's like, I guess now might be the right time given the hardship that everyone's going through. Not to mention his secret's out. So he definitely is like, he needs to get rid of the treasure there to make sure nobody else tries to go there either.
Yeah, so, people have been dying trying to get this treasure for a while, man. People have been kind of just throwing themselves at it and disappearing. And then, like, in the end, he's like, all right, I guess somebody got here. Now that you, all right. And then he just like gives. I just don't get. I don't get why he did it.
They can't say no, don't do it, because people are still gonna do it. He knows he can't stop, and legends over time generate. I mean,
we also don't know exactly why they vanished, right? I mean, there's like the void portal there. I would assume it's because of the guardians on the island, and that like as people try to invade it, they are killed, right? Which you would think that maybe he would try to like let loose some gossip, some hot goss or something that's like, there's no treasure there, only death, and that people would stop going. Yeah. But I mean, it is like a really dangerous place, and if somebody found it, they could misuse it really horribly, right? Like widen that little tear in the realities, or use it to their own benefit. So I guess I know why. I mean, I won't lie. I honestly thought this was one of my favorite starting patches, because it did feel like some of the ones leading up to Endwalker got a little bit like, well, but we're saving the good stuff for Endwalker. And I was like, there's good stuff here and there's interesting moments, but like, please just give me something to actually really get excited about and like chew on and like feel like the action is really already going. And there were moments like that, but I have really enjoyed this fresh start. I loved the treasure aspect just because I think we had that little 11 throwback, but also it gives you that sense of, I think, classic adventure narratives, right? Like we're gonna go out and look for treasure and then we find out something else, but there are definitely some little weird things with it for sure.
Yeah. Well, we can pause on that and we'll do a heavy analyst later. I just wanted to talk about it because it was top of mind. Because I did go back and do this story so I could feel a little bit more caught up. And this is when my AC was still here. So I actually had a big...
You actually caught up. You actually caught up more than me already.
Yeah, dude.
Hey, you knew about Gold Bez. That's 6.1. Arthars.
I mean, I saw the cutscene, so... Wait, is that... I thought that was...
That's 6.1.
Yeah, 6.1.
That's after the dungeon.
I stopped after the dungeon. I didn't finish it, though. So I finished the dungeon and I saw that. Yeah, so I just stopped there. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad they're bringing 4 fiends in, though, because that was like a big thing.
I was super excited. Like when Endwalker was released, they showed the moon, yada yada, right? I was like, FF4 should be the theme for this expansion, and then we didn't see it, right? And then suddenly now when I saw the, my chat told me, oh, you must watch the cutscene after the dungeon, because I'm like, I just want to do the dungeon. Remember I said earlier, I usually do the first time I skip everything. The second time when I do the alt, I will see a bit, and then for this type of like 0.1 patch, I usually on my alt will see everything. But then they were like, oh, you need to see the next one. You need to see the next one. You've been talking about FF4, right? You need to see the next one. Okay, sure. And then I saw it. I was like, oh my God. I hope it's on the raid, but it's most likely going to be trials. So,
yeah, the raid seems like something completely different at the moment.
Sure is.
Yeah.
It's most likely trials, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay. As I love FF4 so much. So,
I mean, how do you guys feel about the current raiding scene in Final Fantasy XIV?
Where do we begin?
Arthars and I are gonna I think Arthars and I are gonna have very different opinions because he does a lot more Party Finder than I do.
I think I'm gonna also. I mean, I'm excited to hear what everybody has to say. I guess I'll go first. I'll start things off on a positive note here before we get into the nitty gritty. Yeah. I honestly feel like, as far as the like overall community engagement with raiding in general right now and visibility of raiding, I think we really are at like an all-time high in the game. The ultimate that came out was so good. It wasn't just good from like a difficulty standpoint, but it was also so good from a narrative watching standpoint, right? People who wanted these moments of revelation, even if they may never raid themselves, were able to witness this incredible journey. Frosty, it was so much fun casting it with MogTalk and with everybody. Like, I will never forget that moment when Zepp and I were watching when the first time rewind happened on the stream. Sorry, yeah, not to rub it in, but also it was so much fun. What a bummer you couldn't be there. No, I'm kidding. We were. Wait,
was it the one that was it my clip that you and Zepla was watching?
I think it was. I think it might have been you hit it first and then rewound. Yes, we were.
Oh my God, it blew my mind.
It blew my mind. So cool. And watching everyone be so excited was amazing. That was incredible. And with the actual Savage Raid before that, because I got to cast that too, I think that first tier, especially at a time when we were seeing many players coming from other games to 14, we were seeing this huge spike to the point that they were having to expand servers, right? I thought it was a really good tier to get people into Final Fantasy XIV raiding. Like, that first fight feels forgiving in a sense. It feels like I saw so many people trying it out, people who have never raided before, who were like, I really want to get into this, I really want to give it a go, and who now have like gone through the whole tier. It felt like a good demonstration, minus the orange on orange on orange of like the range of mechanics and thematic stuff within 14. So overall, I feel like we're in a good place as far as, I'm gonna have a siren go by here in a second.
It's okay.
We live in the city, sorry, it's so noisy here. But I feel like we're in a good place as far as people being able to get into raiding, having stepping stones, even stuff like the new Unreal fights they've been doing, having stepping stones to get into raiding, and then seeing really, really competitive, top-tier, high-end gameplay. Now, as to like other stuff, I will pass it over to everybody else to discuss, but I think that before you can get into any of that nitty-gritty stuff, you have to have a community that's even at all excited about it, and excited to do it, and excited to empower players to do it, because if nobody's playing the content, it just dies, you know? Like, so I think we're in a good spot in those regards right now in 14.
Okay. Arthars, Happy? Which one of you guys?
Arthars, definitely Arthars first.
Arthars.
I'm closer to her, and I know Arthars is not going to be on this.
Okay. If we talk about let's talk about Savage first, right? I think this Savage for first tier, I think it's okay. Overall, I think it has been a long time before we get 4 turns of decency, right? The last time I can think of, honestly, is way back. Wow, so way back, I can't even like immediately pinpoint what was the like. Oh, I'm not talking about like a specific turn. I'm talking about the whole rate here, right? This Pandemonium turn 1 all the way to turn 4 actually felt very progressive. Actually felt fun. Like now, replayability sadly doesn't just go down into clearing the fight. It also sometimes go into like passing. It also sometimes go into like optimizing. So in those sense, a lot of players would say that this tier suck. But if I were to go with Rook's sentiment, right, I think this raid tier really bring in a lot of players to raid. The recent Lucky Bancho, the JP website that uses Lordstone information, right? They uses active Lordstone data updates to, you know, calculate active players. And then they did up to this point the clear rates, although not accurate, but you can you compare it to years, you compare it to since Delta Scape. This is again yet another increase of players that attempt Savage and players who clear Savage. So in a way, it does feel like more and more people, like even NA, I'm not just talking about JP. JP, like if you talk about Gordius, when we begin the first Savage, Gordius, you are talking about 15% JP clear, 5% NA clear compared to active player. Today, we have 30% JP clear, almost 20% NA clear. It's actually quite substantial. It's like basically saying more and more players are attempting it and more players are clearing it, you know? So I think this rate here, and also you talk about Endwalker, you got so many people coming in to play the game, the WoW players, the new players. So I do think this rate here succeeded in that. But in terms of like design, this is where I might step on some tails here. I feel this rate here aesthetically and maybe even consider the music, no disrespect to Soken or anything, right? I feel like they could improve it a lot more. As good as the raid here is bringing people into raid, but I mean, it's new. Like, it's a Final Fantasy XIV original, 100%. I think it's okay, but I felt like it's funny how we always ask for it. We want something original, and then they finally did it. Then you realize that something's off. Now, this is only the first raid here. I don't want to give it too much criticism. I think it's okay, but I think there's a lot of improvement for them, and I hope that we will see it in the second raid here. Hopefully. Now that's Savage. Ultimate. This is probably the best ultimate they ever done. I don't know whether they can make anything better than this. It's not just about the lore, the story thingy that Rook was talking about, but also the difficulty. And honestly speaking, it's not difficult. If you look at it at every single phase, right? I don't think this ultimate has got like a really difficult mechanic like Wormhole. Like from Heaven's Fall all the way to Grand Octet. Before we, thank LB Cheese Grand Octet. But if you think about it, every ultimate has got this really tough period. And then you got the Titan Jail and Suppression. But this ultimate didn't feel like we have a crazy mechanic as crazy as those. But this ultimate is from the first minute to the last, you can't afford to slip up. It's very punishing. You cannot take 1 second of focus away. There's no autopilot in this whole 18 minutes, right? When you do U, when you do U-Corp, when you do T, there's autopilot, wormhole, autopilot, jail. Oh yeah, we get past jail, autopilot. You know what I mean? This ultimate is just full focus. It's not difficult mechanically, but the different demand makes it. Like, I never thought they can raise the bar in a way, and they continue to do. That's why for me, right, ultimate is the only thing for me that I really care about, because ultimate is the only thing I feel that the developers still have what it takes to raise the bar, and this one definitely takes the cake, right? I don't know how they're gonna make the next one harder. I don't know what else they can do to. They can definitely make this harder, but I don't know whether they want to. Like I say, right, this ultimate don't have like crazy mechanic like wormhole. If they can make it the ultimate this way, where consistency matters, and then implement more of those like wormhole mechanics, they're going to raise the bar. But I don't know whether they can do it. I don't know whether I'm prepared for it. I would love to see it, but I know in this community, a lot of people is like, okay, this is it. This is where they draw the line. It can't be harder than this. I'm not sure whether they say it because they don't want to spend more time on it, or they are just relieved that it's just the difficulty. I want to see it get harder. I want the next ultimate actually be harder. My ideal Savage is where World First would take 6 days to clear, and then for the rest of the hardcore, we try to get a week 1. For Ultimate, I am hoping that we get a 2 weeks World First, and then like a 1 month hardcore. Now, a lot of people say I'm crazy, but I want the game to reach that high, because I'm just an endgame player like that, right? But here's the thing, if you compare it to Savage, this Ultimate is so good, and then this Savage is just entry level first here, and I don't have problem with it, but I think that it can be better. Where is the second Savage going to be? How are they going to hit the spot where the second Savage is going to be a nice progression, and then we can just forget about the ultimate, and then we were like, oh, this is a good Savage. Because at the moment, right, in this game, right, if I'm not doing Dragon Song right now, I feel very empty in terms of rating. Do I still want to do Savage? Do I still want to go back to do old Savage? Unreal, it's fun, but this one raised the bar too high already. And rather than the next ultimate raise the bar higher, I think in between the Savage also needs to raise the bar. So I'm curious to see what they're gonna do in this second Savage. And then they have the 1 week stagger. Are they gonna balance the fights regarding the 1 week stagger? So there's a lot of question mark, right? I just need to see this 6.2 to have a better understanding, I hope, yeah.
Happy, you want to throw some in?
This Savage tier, I think, is one of the best Savage tiers we've had collectively in quite some time, especially from a prog point. While yes, Phoenix is an atrocity to look at, try it in colorblind mode. It's far, far worse.
Wait, you are, right?
I'm not a little bit colorblind. I am a disaster. I'm a walking disaster. Go back to turn 9 with the golems, and they were all the same color to me until they changed their shoulder pads and everything. Yeah, that wasn't great. It was definitely one of the better progs that we've had. It never felt like during prog there was that one that people couldn't stand in that first week. Phoenix came the closest, but I think the encounter progging it was mechanic to mechanic to mechanic improvements. There's just a few, like, what's the point? Like the birds, the first time you see them, it's like the teeth, I guess I should say. It's like, why did you just aim them away? That's it. That's the whole thing. You just aim them away. Okay, I guess we'll need this knowledge later. Repeating them, I think, is largely okay. I think it hits this decent middle ground where doing them isn't too much of a hassle, or is just enough of a hassle that you kind of don't mind doing it, but you also kind of wish it was more exciting to do repeatedly. It's not like doing what's a good example? I actually think Promise was relatively okay to redo. There was a little bit of a low point, but it was almost funny, like doing E9S every week, because you were like, spin the roulette wheel. How does platforms go? How do the brambles go? But this doesn't really have that. This is almost disappointing when somebody starts to screw things up. You're like, oh my, really? Come on now. Mm-hmm. The next tier will be about 20% stricter checks. That's how they've run it in the past. But as Arthars has said, the big question mark about the 1 week delay is bouncing around it. I don't think they would. I think they would sooner delay tomes and delay crafted gear so they come out at the same time before they bounce around it. I don't think they're going to do either. I think we're going to have a 630 weapon for the final fight in this tier. I think we're going to have full primal weapons. We're going to have a bunch of like body and leg pieces if you have the 900 tomes. I think it's going to come to that, and I think it's going to be about the same as the first tier in terms of the way we end up feeling as we're going through it, but that remains to be seen. As for Ultimate, the focus thing is very much true, and it is the sole reason why I haven't seen a single clear that doesn't end in 8 people in tears. That's essentially what the encounter has. I've watched every clear. I have not seen someone who wasn't just like about to like physically and emotionally fall apart. People trying to read the end screen with this nice little lore bit that they're trying to do, and they're just like, I can't even read it. I'll watch it again at the end room. I don't know.
It's
that's
so draining.
It's so draining. And that's why I don't think it's wise for them. It's not about whether or not they'll ever do it again. I'm confident at some point they do raise the bar again. They understand that player skill goes up. That was a big reason why DSR ended the way that it did. I think the next one's more of an Ultima, where it's more based on this core puzzle mechanic that you need to solve across the whole fight, and not, save Vestinian, save Hoshfont, and that's kind of like the end of the puzzle, I suppose. It's more of a gimmick than it is anything else. It's a fantastic fight from beginning to end, but it is such an emotional stress. But I have a different concern about Ultimate going forward. What are you going to say?
It's funny how my JP static, right? And I think a lot of static, I'm pretty sure that includes your static as well. We were sitting here like, it's an Ultimate. Let's plan for 7 days off. Well, let's not plan just for 7 days. Let's prepare just in case it's harder. Let's prepare 10 to 14 days. Sure, let's go. We are all mentally ready. People took off for 10 and 14 days. And then when it really comes down to the 10th day, we sit here and we were like, we prepared for this. But why are we still feeling like this is not what we expected? This ultimate really hits very different. We planned for it. We expected it. But when we get it, we didn't expect it to be like that. That's why eventually it became so emotional. I'm telling you, man, there was so many times like after the raid day, right? Especially when World First, because this time I was going for World Pro, right? Although it's like my JP team put up a stream team, and we all know the stigma about when you stream, the chance of it is lower, but we still think that it can get closer. We don't want it to be like T where it's 3 days and 7 days. World First, World Second, right? This time is 7 and 9 day, I think. World Second was 9 day or 8 day, I don't know. So it's a lot better. But like for my team, even though we got 5th, right? We were like 4 days behind. And then I was sitting there like, on raid days when it end, right? Knowing the fact that people already clear, I'm sitting here like, what's next? Now, obviously, the morale goes down. What's next? Are we even going to clear this fight? I mean, when I say, are we going to clear this fight, I don't mean like, can we down it? It's like, will people, because this is so draining, will people stay? Because a lot of teams will be like for example, TPS. Oh shit, World First is out already. We only plan 7 days. Let's just go back to casual, right? I don't want that, I want to make sure that we see through it, right? And then every raid day, I'm like, every raid day, when I turn around and get ready to sleep, I'm like a little bit shaken. I'm always like, tomorrow is another day. Hopefully we go through it, people don't give up, because I really want to finish this fight. All these things build up to the 10th day, right? Which is why I couldn't control myself at the end. I was just glad that it was over, but fuck, man, I want to do it again. I want to do it again.
That's the masochist. So that's because we're Final Fantasy 11. Let's clear the air on this. We played Final Fantasy. That's what it comes down to. We're used to throwing an inordinate amount of time at something, really wishing it was over, but when it's over, wishing that it was still around at the same. There's like an empty hole in your life that you don't know what to do with. We call it post-clear depression. It is a very, very real thing. And that's when you cope by A, rewatching your own clear, B, rewatching it from somebody else's perspective.
Yes.
C, watching other people try to clear it and opening like 6 Twitch tabs for everyone who's on phase 6 and 7 and just tabbing between them because you don't want to see Thornton or Nidstinian, but you have to check anyway because you're sick of seeing Thornton, and it's just this whole like mental anguish that goes with it. And it's not healthy, but we want to do it at the same time. That being said, if the next ultimate is like this, so many more teams are screwed. Because if you look at our schedule for the entire expansion, I'm going to lay it out for anyone who hasn't been keeping up. 6.05, first Savage tier. 6.11, Ultimate. 6.2, I guess technically 2.1 now. Savage tier. 6.25, Savage Dungeons being introduced. 6.31, next Ultimate being introduced. 6.35, Palace of the Dead Souls are going to take over for some people. 6.4, new Savage tier. 6.45, new Savage Dungeon. 6.55, new Savage Dungeon. No third Ultimate. There's too many things happening now that I want to happen, but if the second Ultimate is anything like DSU, I'm going to crumble. And I think a lot of people will, or they just won't have time off because the schedule is so freaking packed at this point.
Well, but that's so great though, because like Arthars,
Yes.
you were even saying that there are these like lulls, right, in that type of content. And I think
Yeah.
we've seen them realize that, and especially after the delay with the pandemic, right? They did not want to have to delay this Ultimate. I think we can all pretty much agree at this point it was worth the wait, even though it was really frustrating in the moment and with everything else that happened, you know? But they have been very conscious, I think, about the fact that for players that are chasing that constant, why am I doing this? I'm suffering so much. Oh my gosh, when can I do it again? Hi, whether you're 11 players or not. They've been conscious that there are these huge drop-offs for them. So I think they're trying to put more of a variety of content. And one of the things, even just hearing you both talk about Ultimate, like honestly that I love, is the fact that these Ultimate fights really they set the bar super high, but they also like test and show off, I think, the full range of what can be considered difficult in a game, right? You can have something like a sprint difficulty where there is a phase that is so hard and so chaotic, or that you have to puzzle out, like, you know, with Ultima, right? Where you're going, what? Why is this failing? What's going on? And then you have to try and put these pieces together and try to break apart all of the information. And then you can have stuff like this one, where it is a marathon. So the whole thing from beginning to end is about execution, consistency, personal responsibility, and then sustaining all of that through what might be like less mechanically dense phases, but for longer and with absolute precision. And I love that because we need such a huge range of these different types of content, and I'm glad that they're starting to like pace more stuff in. But so much when people think of a fight being hard in an MMO, what they are just thinking about is like meeting your DPS thresholds, and there being a lot of really, really hard mechanics. And if the mechanics are super hard and everybody says they're hard, then that fight has to be super, super hard. But when it goes into it, it's like there are so many ways that you can test stamina, you can test group coordination, even like you were saying, morale, right? The idea of a fight that is so much more of a longer sustain, taking that much more of a toll, where you're going like, okay, all right, we're going back in. Did you get some water? All right, let's do this. Because it really does feel like it is exhausting in a way to just sustain as a group and do that. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen with these Savage Dungeons, honestly, because I think this could be a great new like addition into our lineup. But I love just seeing how they're being creative across all these different modes to showcase what endgame PvE can look like in 14, but also MMOs as a whole.
Yeah.
Do you guys think? Okay, I mean, I guess it's considered rating as well. Do you guys think this time we get a 48-man Savage?
No.
Number one.
Nah.
You really don't think so?
I don't think so
actually,
either.
you know, I was thinking about two things, right? I was wondering what is going to be in 6.5. Now, this is if 6.3 we get the ultimate. Now, I believe we will. But again, based on what happened, you know, pre-Endwalker, I don't want to say that. I don't want to be the guy that is like, you know, people like copy. I get it. I think we will get it. But what's coming in 6.5 is either one or two things, right? Go by track record. It's either we maybe get a third ultimate in 6.5 or we get a 48-man Savage. But I'm with you guys. I don't know whether this time we get a 48-man Savage. But then if no, does this mean that we get a third ultimate? Or do we just not get anything?
You know what you get? You get Criterion 3. We know there's a Criterion dungeon in 6.5.
Yeah, but you see, the Criterion dungeon is an addition, right? You think they would chop off something for it?
They did.
Because if you look at 6.3, it looks like it's addition. And not to mention, they are bringing back Deep Dungeon. So it's like they are retaining content while they are introducing Criterion Dungeon. You think the 48-man was sacrificed for it?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big
Go
time.
ahead.
Rook. No. you.
Wow, you guys are non-believers?
Well, okay, this is the thing. I wish we were. Like, let me be clear. I honestly thought that they were going to continue to develop something like they spent so long reworking Diadem. Then they went in and they did Eureka. And then they polished that and we got Boja. And I really thought they were trying to build that towards something that would be like a new type of content that we expect regularly that would be, you know, paced into our patch content. But the fact that in my mind, and I know this isn't always how it works and I don't have inside information, so I could be utterly wrong, but in my mind, we don't usually see anything more than like one zone, like a new zone mappy kind of thing, or like Eureka, right? Or Boja, and we are getting Island Sanctuary. So in my mind, I'm like, here's this whole new map. So if that's where like our map resources in these patches are going, there's that. They haven't said anything about a Boja Eureka thing or a 48-man, and I would think that that would be tied to content like that. I could be wrong. They could surprise us, I guess, and like with these Criterion dungeons have some kind of like bonus challenge difficulty that's like a much larger scale thing at the end, which I would love, because I thought I thought that Savage 20 or the Savage, you know, large scale one was so cool to see, and it was really a different kind of take on, again, what we can do in endgame content. But I just don't get this impression. They've been so coy about it, and we see all these resources going into other stuff that I'm excited about. I just don't know if we're gonna get it. I don't know.
But this is the okay. You look at Shadowbringer. Shadowbringer was awesome up to 6.2. 6.2 onwards, Shadowbringer start going down, taking a huge dip in terms of like content. But don't you think 6.2 onwards is the part that they can either elevate or they can return, like win back the trust? I think, now this is really funny coming from me, because everybody think that I'm a Yoshi P or Final Fantasy 14 hater. I don't. I'm on the contrary. I think, now this is massive copium here. I think 6.3 we're gonna get ultimate. I think 6.4, obviously the thing, yada yada. I think 6.5 we can get a 48-man and a third ultimate. And then a Criterion dungeon. You guys don't think that's like
that's not just
possible?
copium. That's like you need to be hospitalized and like like stuck on a tank, and like they're gonna
Even you don't believe it, Happy? Really?
So okay, I'm gonna remind everyone some things that I bet people don't remember. Rook, you talked about maps. Island Sanctuary and Criterion would both fall under those map resources. Does anyone else know that we're getting a second island in 6.5 for Island Sanctuary? That is already on the
really
thing. Yes, there is a whole second island being made for Island Sanctuary. Now they could scrap that, but that's what their official live stream said back in February when they did the roadmap live stream. Yeah, it confirmed a Criterion dungeon in 0.25, 0.45, and well, it says in 2x, 4x, 5x, but let's be real, we got them figured out. Palace of the Dead or new deep dungeon in the 0.3 patch, but it says there's a new island in the 0.5x series. That's more map resources. That's the big reason why, because I don't think they make 2 islands, 3 Criterion dungeons, and a new 48-man and or a new exploration zone. I think they want to elevate the idea of small groups being able to pull together individuals to participate in content versus the 48-man clusterfuck that was DSR when I overslept for 30 minutes and my raid couldn't do anything. Or anyone overslept and we couldn't do anything. If we were ever late or someone needed a bathroom break or somebody didn't bring essences and then I also think about how they preserved the desire to do DSR, and they failed horribly in the reward structure of DSR. Even DS normal is or DRS. Yeah, there you go. DRS, DR normal. They failed horribly in the reward structure long term. And I think that's going to be a consideration because I don't think they want to do it like BA again, but they also don't want to. It's too many factors in place. I think we see it again in 7.x. I don't think we see another 48-man Savage here, and I don't think we see another exploration zone.
Now, Haps, I have something to run by you, and I want to know if you think this is possible, because as I think about it, I think it definitely is. What if with the second island that we get in Island Sanctuary, this does become a new Boja, but
I was thinking that.
It's a 48-man Lord of Verminion. No, 48-man Lord of Verminion, where you have to fight using the creatures you found on the island.
You are smart.
Stop it. I'm
You're
already
really
coping
smart.
with the fact they added shiny hunting to Final Fantasy 14. That I got to do that, and
Wait,
now
they
you're
had
telling me
shiny
I gotta. Well,
What?
there's like rare like color variants on the islands for the wildlife you
There
can
are
find.
that
Yeah.
you can find.
Nice.
No,
Alright.
Yeah.
Lord of Verminion might be the only thing in this game that made me so angry every second that I played. I'm just gonna be honest. I try to be like real positive, but offer good critique about most things. I'm sure there are positive points to Lord of Verminion. There are cute things. I got good MGP for doing it. It sent me into a rage. I never want to do it again.
Hey man, they'll probably update that before they update Chocobo Racing. So
Peru.
Why aren't they sorry, this is a totally different podcast. I'm sorry. I was
It's
gonna
okay.
say, why aren't they doing something where like your retired pedigree chocobo are on the island? Or you have like a breeding mini.
yeah.
I'm very excited for the island actually, but memes aside, yeah. I just don't see them necessarily doing a 48. I would like them to because I do think there is a big community. I was surprised recently. I never did BA because I sort of petered out 3/4 of the way. I made it to Hydatos back when Eureka was current, and then I was kind of like, I don't have the energy to go on. And I actually really liked a lot of stuff about Eureka, even if there were a lot of rough points with it. But I was surprised because I went back in recently to do it, and there were still tons of people and people who were running it and groups that were coordinated that were popping in and people who were referring me to the Discord when I expressed an interest. And so I do think there is a community that likes these large scale encounters. I do think that they need to keep learning from them if they keep putting them in the game, because like you said, Haps, like there are certain things about even the issues originally in Eureka with the map coordination problems and people who weren't a part of it or things like that going in and not knowing what was happening. And then later on, you have the timing issues with stuff like the Savage runs in Boja. But I do think it's a cool idea. I just don't know I don't think we're going to get one this time around. I wish we would, but I don't think we will with everything else they have in store. But maybe they'll surprise us.
Okay. I think that's good for rating right now. We'll probably.
Okay.
That was actually really comprehensive. We went pretty deep on that one, and I do like the idea.
You haven't been here for a while. We had to do it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I've learned so much throughout the. I've only had to listen for like 40 minutes or so, and this has been pretty good. I like it. That's Rook, by the way. That's
Welcome to MogTalk.
Yeah.
Welcome, Frosty.
That being said, I feel like this is a good time to do one more break before we go into our next couple of topics, because they might be a little bit shorter than the ones that we just discussed. So guys, hold on while I do this Twitch incentive thing. Thanks for bearing with us, and if you have a sub, then listen to some Pulse music. It'll be great. Hold on 1 second. Hey guys, we are back. Thanks for bearing with us. We've talked about rating, talked about community, we've talked about billboards. There's a couple other things I want to get into. One thing that a lot of people, when they think of me, is PvP, mostly because I did the shout casting for it at a couple of events and almost all events recently for the Beast version of PvP back in 2018 and 2019, which was a whole fun ordeal. And PvP has never really gotten like a good rep until recently with Crystal Conflict. And so I've looked into it. I've seen some stuff on it, and from my understanding, it's good. And I remember we've talked about this a few times, Mike, about PvP. And
Yeah, we sure have.
And your comments were about as long as I don't know, a sentence or so. Is that about it? Like that's how much you had to comment?
Yeah, that was about right. I said no, make it better. So that's about it. That's not even a full sentence. That's like it's like a
fragment.
What's a yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your thoughts on it now?
It's good, but they still have a few kinks to work out. That is my one summary sentence on that. And oddly enough, it has nothing to do with the game mode itself that needs to be worked out. I think the game mode and the general balance attempts have largely successful. A few misnomers, but that's normal in PvP. in any game. It's a reward structure that still is a question mark, especially as we come into season 2 just this last week.
You know, Feast had that issue too.
Yeah.
Really big. And so, let's start off with this. No kinks. Let's just hit why it's actually good.
Yeah, so the objective is simple and modern. I think that's a big thing. It's very familiar to a lot of people who've been keeping up with competitive esports scenes, especially in recent years, or, you know, maybe an old TF2 player would recognize it, you know, whatever. It's something anyone can understand at a glance, which needs to be the case with PvP. If you look at it and go, I don't understand what are these medals on the ground? How do I know how many I'm getting? Blah, blah, blah. What's the actual win condition? Why did that end there? What's this culling time thing? There's too many variants there.
It was so simple, Mike. It was so simple.
And it was, but the problem is people who don't already play it or don't know much about it don't see that and understand it immediately. They see people standing next to a crystal and pushing forward. They pretty much instantly get what the objective of it is. Then it's just a matter of getting over the visual clutter that is 10 people going at it with Final Fantasy XIV's level of special effects in play most of the time. The actual balance is really good. They did a much better job. Despite these jobs being incredibly simple, they all feel very unique to play. So you can very much carve out a favorite in PvP, and that's essential, because if you don't have that feeling in PvP, it's really hard to get attached to the mode at all. The limit breaks, especially, they nailed it with this. It brings up a lot of conversations about PvE and things people want in PvE, and I think that's good. If you can look at PvP and go, wow, these kind of concepts are really cool, could they do that in the rest of the game? That obviously that says they hit the nail on the head with the design. So it really, and also map variants, thank goodness they have it. Rotating maps, multiple maps out at the same time, very flavorful maps, difference in strategy, and room to add more should they really want to. It's the entire foundation is so good for everything they need to do to have a successful competitive mode, but just one mode. The rest of PvP kind of fell apart around it, and while they're making moves to fix it, it is not quite there yet. Frontlines was Summoner Scholar territory. And now it's unkillable tanks and melees, essentially, with the change they just made. And we have to see that balance out with Rival Wings coming back and more adjustments to front lines and additions of new modes in the future. Tons of question marks. But I couldn't have been happier with a PvP patch than I was with 6.1. They couldn't have done a better job, I feel.
Okay.
I think they nailed it. Everything is good. Everything about PvP that in this game that is wrong or bad, that other games have done better. Okay, PvP cannot be balanced. A balanced PvP is boring. That's why Feast is so boring. Now, I know you will say good things about PvP. It doesn't matter. Overall, in the whole spectator POV, it's not fun to do and or watch. But this mode, like Happy said, like I play Overwatch and I stopped at season 3. Now it's like season 20 or something. It's still fun to watch, even though I don't play it. I think this Crystalline Conflict is like that. Even if you don't play it often, if you have a small idea how it works, it's fun to watch, right? There's a lot of PvP streams now, and it's also enjoyable to watch. Like it's not only fun to play, it's also enjoyable to watch. Sometimes it's imbalance. The imbalance creates content. Why are these? I don't want to. I don't know whether you actually played it. White Mage LB was just straight up broken, right? We have conversation about the White Mage LB before. But imbalance makes PvP fun. Nobody wants to see everything too balanced because it's too boring. One thing. Second, you play around the imbalance, some imbalances with objective gaming, right? With different ways to win. Okay, your group might be metacom, you might be overpowered, you got great jobs, but then you might not win if you can play the objective properly, right? So I think there's a lot of nice twists with it. Sadly, my JP static don't allow me to stream, play PvP. I was trying to get to Crystal before Dragon Song came out, and then they tell me, yo, you cannot stream PvP. I'm like, why? They say because when I stream PvP, I'm always yowling, I'm always like angry. They don't want me to get banned even if there's a 0.1%.
I knew that
so
was the reason.
I couldn't do any more PvP, and then Dragon Song happened, and then now I couldn't get a chance to get back. I'm excited to get back to season 2 though. I didn't get to Crystal, man, but after hearing what Happy says about reward, I hope Happy will talk about it more because I haven't touched season 2. I think I was diamond, so this season will put me back to plat. That means
Depends
that I
on
can
were
get.
you were in Diamond. Where were
Yeah.
you? Were you in Diamond 5
how
or
does
Diamond
the
4?
reward? How does the reward work? What am I missing out?
So the only reward for seasonal play right now is a number of trophy crystals, depending on what you actually end at. Same things you got from the series rewards, just a flat amount of them, and you get adventurer portraits that basically act as trophies. Instead of giving you a trophy, if you end in a certain rank, you get a border. That's pretty common in other online games as well. League of Legends does it. I'm not sure. I'm sure other ones do it as well. And then if you're in the top 100, or there's another one, and then if you're number 1, you get like the ultimate portrait. The only difference between every season's rewards is the number on the portrait. So the first season had a Roman numeral 1, the second season has a Roman numeral 2, the third season, etc. That is it. That is, as of season 2, that is the only difference between season 1 and season 2 is the number. And you may not even display that because that's part of the little ribbon at the bottom. You just might not even use that for your adventure portrait. So
I actually didn't realize that they would be the exact identical ones again. Because I hit Crystal, and Haps, I think you honestly said every single thing that I also feel about the whole PvP rework, thinking about Frosty's initial question. Totally agree. I mean, and honestly, Arthars too, this is such a good fresh start. I played a lot of competitive Overwatch myself, and I always loved how strong the characters felt as like an entire package, right? Their mechanics, their aesthetics, their animations. It felt distinctive. If you like played somebody, this specific play style and got really good at it, being able to improvise and use that class in creative ways. To me, even though, exactly like you said, there are still things to work out, and especially with adapting other modes that I just don't think totally work with this new mindset, and that's okay. Like, all of that needs to be done. There's also bigger discussions happening about, win trading and all this other stuff, which are always a part of PvP scenes.
Frosty's very familiar with that. I saw his face.
Yes. So that's really important too, because that contributes to a healthy PvP scene. Balance is another thing. And Arthas, I do agree with you. Sometimes I think that drastic balance shifts can create very wild times in games where there's like a lot more to deal with, or shifts in the landscape. Ultimately, a more consistent balance, I think, allows people to not feel or foster oftentimes bad feelings towards a specific thing. Or even sometimes just the developers themselves, because sometimes people feel like, oh, well, if this one class is so strong, you see poor Yoshida-san having to say this all the time, like, I'm a Black Mage main, but I swear I'm not making Black Mage the best in the game, So I do think more consistent balance is key, especially when people have such strong connections to the classes they want to play. However, as a white mage main in PvP, I acknowledge that how we were and have been is perfect, and they should stop touching my class, and they should give us all the numbers back and make the limit break as powerful as it was. No, I'm kidding.
Until you're in Crystal, then they can change it. Once you're in Crystal, they can nerf it however much they want. Yeah.
Sure. No, I played a lot of different things, but I had so much fun in White Mage in a way I wasn't expecting in PvP. And I think that was a testament to how they've done this. I mean, I find myself wanting to play classes I never even would have ever wanted to take into PvP, just because the flair is so cool. And Red Mage, oh my gosh, I love going back between the different aspects and the way that they affect the different magic elements that you're using. I just think that's so cool as far as thematic goes. I love Happy's face does not look as happy about that.
I've been on the receiving end. One too many Red Mage dots. One too many Red Mage dots. One too many silences.
Red Mage is really, really, really powerful.
It's so strong. It's so strong. But I think just the idea of how they're playing with those classes, they're creating simplified but still complex classes that give you a realm of play. They're giving you across the board counterplays with stuff like the CC breaks and self-heals, which I think is a big move, because CC oftentimes also fosters bad feelings in MMO communities, and there are certain classes that really excel at it in PvP right now, but there are ways to counter that and play around it. So people have to, learn that as a part of the game mode. So all of that to say, I think this has been such a good fresh start. I think it will open up even more if and when they ever allow team play, because the strength of these kinds of classes is that when you start doing team tactics, That's where like the medic, it's so fun how you line these things up, how you combat other comps, how you do this, and even casting stuff like Wolves League with Plus has been so much fun to see how these teams are starting to create their own styles and compositions and tactics. But that will be a big step. They need to do something about the rewards though. Because I agree, Haps, okay, I did not know that they were the same borders every season. I knew about the fact that if you have worked your way up to Crystal, and I know you were talking about this when we were on the break, you don't actually get the borders for all of the other like ranks that you went through. And that was a huge bummer to me because, in my opinion, right, if you're getting an unlockable cosmetic for playing in a season and something like the Adventurer plate, my incentive to play through and get as much as I can in that season isn't just to get the crystal border, which is pretty, but it's to like get all the stuff I want to get. And I was aiming for that under the assumption that each season we would have a distinctive different border. And maybe they'll change this at some point, but I don't think the way to incentivize people to long time get rewards from PvP, competitive, ranked PvP, is to necessarily just have the same thing with different numbers on it. Because in Overwatch, I can tell you real fast that after like 2 seasons of getting the gold weapons that I wanted, I never ever wanted to work towards anything ever again, because I was like, I can play this and get frustrated, but for what? If I'm not in top 10, I'm not going to get the special animated spray or whatever. And all I have are these gold weapons that we've had for 5 years.
Yeah. I have a solution for what they could do. It's actually takes inspiration from the Feast, oddly enough. So Frosty, you may not know this. So in the Feast, you would end in a ranking, bronze, silver, and you'd get a certain amount of tokens, and you use those tokens to buy the armor set. That was how the Feast worked. That's not how that armor set works anymore. You buy the tokens with trophy crystals. So you could just buy all the Hellhound stuff now. I have like every weapon basically with the trophy crystals. Okay. I think they should be doing that. They should be giving you a set number of tokens depending on the rank you end at, and the more that you have, the more, and then make a shop that's dependent on those. I think that getting more of those and the incentive to get to them faster is enough for people. I was always a fan. Listen, I know that with Final Fantasy XIV in particular, this is probably true elsewhere, but with 14, I feel like it's more true. There is this adverseness to rewarding skill with unique rewards that I feel like is counterintuitive to PvP above everything else. I am always been okay with not having the Owless mount because I didn't PvP in those seasons. I've been okay with not having the Dreadnought mount. If it's content I didn't want to do, it didn't bum me out that I couldn't get this. I would admire it when people did have it. And I don't think long-term that's healthy for a competitive PvP scene. I don't care if it's like challenger skins in League of Legends or gold weapons or unique sprays and Overwatch. I think the top players, even if it's not me, deserve something a little extra. If they don't want to go that route, they need to lock how quickly you can get PvP rewards around your rank and encourage you to get to higher ranks.
So I agree with that completely, and I feel like, I mean, I feel good. I've gotten top 100 a handful of times in Feast, right, and I have those mounts that only 600 people have in the entire Final Fantasy gaming sphere. And I'm like,
They need to release it, man. They need to release those. They need to release those skins and mounts.
all right. So to talk about like that point though, with having it to be, you know, top players get unique rewards, all that great stuff. If the only way they can do that is with proper moderation, if they have to apply proper moderation to ensure that people who are getting it because they deserve to get it. If they can't do that, then it's just going to be this whole like, oh, it's a whole horrible, shitty situation where win traders are going to get all the rewards and everything else. So if they can get to the point to where they can have that moderation, that control, and they know for a fact the top 100 or top however many people all at least deserve it, at least don't look blatantly, obviously horrible, you know, cheesing their way to the top, then yeah, I think that should happen. But if they don't have literally any moderation, which it doesn't sound like they do at the moment.
So in 6.2, they are making changes so that it's harder for people to queue up at the same time and time their queues, which is how win trading ended up working. People would queue as like 2 different characters as the same job, so they can never end up on the same team. And then they would try to land in the same match. So yeah, they are adding some stuff to prevent that. It is officially in the terms of service that you can report suspected win trading, but I feel like the moderation team has no training in how to really identify and be like, oh, if this case has come in, I can surely identify that that's what's happening. And there were some bans and suspensions, but some of the bans and suspensions weren't even because of win trading. They're because they found the character on auction sites being sold because they had, crystal ranking and stuff. Yeah. So they were able to track the characters down and ban them. So, yeah.
I mean, one thing that I've seen, I liked your idea about the currency and stuff happens, and I agree about the idea of high-end rewards, right? I think part of maybe their hesitancy, particularly with PvP, has been the fact that only a fairly small subsect was even playing it. Which is always a discussion, right? Mm-hmm. There are certain smaller communities within a game that, again, contribute enough overall and draw enough interest and all sorts of stuff that, again, they should not be dismissed just because they are a small group. But when we think about the past of PvP in the game, I was never selling this game to people based on its PvP, let's be honest. Like, there were people who enjoyed it and there were highlights about it. But I'm sure there was a discussion as well about if we spend the time, energy, employee resources, and like money on developing something like a mount, right? And then it's only available to this small subsect for this tiny window of time. How much returns are we actually getting from this? How many people? So I will pass it. Can I pass 1 second? Because perhaps I see you thinking.
Yeah, no, I'm just acknowledging that you've given me an idea.
But something that I've seen in the past as well that I thought was so smart, and this was in a couple of older MMOs, and I loved this, was that in their PvP, they had like statues of the players that were at the top rank. And so if you got that for that, like, the season after you won, there would be some kind of area where like your character, that like that top player, that top whatever, was like in a statue there with like the name displayed. And then for the next season, people could try to like dethrone it and, get their person up there. Which would be something that like we already have the technology for in this game with the Odin fight, with stuff like that. So whether it's coming up with custom rewards for high tiers or whatever it is, something like that, where it's more of a glory moment, like, hey, look, this is me here in this space, and other people feel like they have the chance to achieve that. Although, of course, again, the win trading stuff and all that moderation is so important to this as well. But it's something where I think there's a lot of creative ways they can do this. Regardless, I do think that for each season, we need to see a change of rewards or something that's different, a new addition to the borders or something like that. Because again, I think that was one of my biggest complaints when I was playing competitive modes in other games, where if it really didn't feel like there was any reason for me to participate in a season, other than just my own enjoyment, which, does get you far to some degree, I would just stop. I'd be like, oh, there's nothing new this season. I'll get to it when I get to it. And then it would be the next season.
Yeah. I think I got it.
Okay.
Mount for PvP, but it has a medal around its neck depending on your end rank. So it's the same mount, but it's got a different medal around its neck.
I like that.
Gold, silver, bronze, and participating. Yeah.
Participating? What's the participating? There you go.
Just a flower, just a flower.
Yeah, a bare minimum change that's still accurately, because here's the thing: a border is going to get boring. You can't put the border every month, but if you took that same idea, what the border is, it's an indication, and you just made it a cosmetic that's on something that does change, and they probably couldn't do this every season. Let's be real; they can't do a new mount every season. It's never going to happen. But if they do that occasionally and they rotate those in, it would be pretty good. I would also be okay with the series reward, getting a better version of the series reward that also indicates your placement. So like the Arcfiend set, but has something to indicate what your end rank was somewhere on it, but you only earn it from the season. Just something to indicate that isn't your portrait, that can actually change over time, but doesn't change much, and people who participate still have a wide range of being able to obtain it.
Okay. Yeah, they could also do the adventure plate every time you go into the wolf's den. You have to see whoever the top person of the rank, like top of the leaderboard, you have to see their adventure plate every single time you go into the wolf's den.
Chat said a chocobo barding that represents your placement as well. That's another one. I think that they need to play around with doing something that isn't just a portrait, but it's the same idea as the portrait.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the adventure plates and everything, just in general? You know, this has been
The best.
a new concept.
The best. It's
The best thing
it's
they ever
bugged as
added.
all it's bugged as all hell. I hate changing. Like they're fixing it in point two. They've already said it, but right now it's super annoying. But it's cool. It's just super annoying.
Gotcha.
Bugs aside, I think it's one of the best social features that I've seen introduced
Yes.
into an MMO recently. I thought it was so smart. Like when you already think about how many people, especially role players, use things like Card, CARRD, which is like a website where you can create a little character profile with your own flair. They essentially took that and then just made a version in game. And MMOs have this huge customization component showing who you are in a space, whatever that means, like what you like to do, what your priorities are, your personal fashion, your character, you know, their flair, their feeling, their, you know, sort of context. So to have these plates, I think was so good. They were super buggy. They were, like the beta definitely had a lot of stuff they needed to work out, but I think this is so cool. And I love that they're expanding it even to stuff like Mahjong. I hope we get something with a new interface for,
guess who's going back to Mahjong?
yeah, like, I hope they do something too with an interface for things like at the end of a dungeon, even when you're doing
Commendation.
your
Player commendations, yeah.
PvE, we need raid plates. Okay, ultimate plates might be too far. People might complain, but we need PvE plates. Dungeon, commendation, farm a primal 99 times, and then you choose to buy a mount or buy an adventurer plate. Okay, maybe not 99, 50. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we need more
Relax there,
options.
Satan.
We need more options. It's one of the best features. It's like when you play Call of Duty, when you play Overwatch, when you look at people's portraits, sometimes you are like you buy battle passes, you buy skin packs because you want some of those animated stuff on it. You want the customization that showcase your style, your character, what you like is so important for an MMORPG game. You know what I mean? Now I'm not saying this because I recently like to, you know, tap into the RP scene and right click people and look at their plate. But sometimes when I look at people's plate, I can tell how much they care about, number one, themselves, and number two, how they care about the game. And then it's also a conversation topic. You know what I mean? It's really nice. It's really nice. I really like it. One of the best features they ever added in, like Rook says, in an MMORPG. Yeah, I hope they expand it more. But we need PvE plates. We need more plates. Yeah.
Okay. So it seems like overall the last like 4 or 5 months of this game have been like out of the ballpark. Like they home run. It's perfect. Not perfect, but like good.
almost.
Let's say good.
Yeah.
It's come with a lot of discourse in other ways. For every decent thing that's been done, it feels like there's been a hill to climb. Like add new housing awards, change the lottery system, whole thing completely breaks. Brand new story quest, tons of typos and characters with wrong names. You know, we've seen a lot of.
Wait, really?
Yeah, in the Omega quest line, there's like 2 NPCs that just have the same name because they didn't like properly like. I don't remember which NPC, but it just says the guy. They're talking to each other, and it just says the guy's name is just talking to himself the whole time. Yeah, but we've seen like a lot of little things like that. Like, you know, data center travel not working day one. Not that anyone was surprised. Endwalkers, login issues. Like there's been a hitch pretty much everywhere along the road. But when we get past the hitch, what we have at the end is something that is brand new to the game without sacrificing much of the old stuff, still adding in new hunts, new treasure maps, a new normal raid, new savage raid. And there's only promises of more to come. I suspect we'll break more things in Endwalker than we have in any other expansion. But that by the end of it all, we'll probably be grateful for Endwalker on a level like we were grateful for Stormblood after the fact.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm
so glad. I'm so glad you talk about it. People always say Shadowbringer is the best. I don't disagree. But Storm's Blood, in terms of quantity and quality and new content, Stormblood is peak. But I think from now 6.1 onwards, especially what we see in 6.3, I think this expansion could be the best one. You know, I think this expansion could be the best one.
Growth always comes with a little bit of pain, right?
Sacrifice,
There's always going to be awkward stuff. There's going to be weird sacrifice. But I think we've seen them just doubling down. I mean, they said, right, even with the media tour stuff, they said, you know, even before Endwalker had come out, that the game was at an all-time peak and that the company and the developers were more dedicated than ever. Not that they weren't. I mean, they did some amazing stuff with this game. But to continuing to keep this game for the future and develop it and add more resources to it. And I really think we see them making good on that promise. There are some things that are bigger pain points than others. Housing is a huge one for the longevity of the future of the game, as well as like a major feature that is becoming more and more just an expected part of many MMO experiences for players that are interested. So how they continue to deal with that, yeah, there's still some stuff to do with that as far as availability and everything else, but so many other things have been incredible steps forward, even with the announced stuff for the graphical updates and everything else that's coming, right? We see them really, really, really investing in the future of this game and robustly supporting all the content in it and doing what they can to try to bring it forward for another 10 years into the future. And that is such an exciting thing to see because, I mean, yeah, like both of you were saying, right now, I think we are seeing them lay the sort of cobblestones down for that, the foundation for this, right? To create a new pathway, a new road for us to walk down here in the next 10 years. So it's going to have its little awkward moments, but it should be a lot easier in the future and much better overall across the board once they're through it all. So,
You guys think we're still going to be playing this game in 10 years?
I don't mind.
I was gonna say
I don't mind.
I'd make a living off of it, so I'll definitely be playing. I mean, I played Final Fantasy for 10 years before playing Final Fantasy 14. What are the odds I stop playing in 10 years?
I mean, it's already been 8 years. So that'd been like 18 years invested.
No, trust me, it's been more than 8 for me.
Okay, all right. We don't talk about that.
A lot of things obviously need to change, right? But this 6.0 going forward to 7.0, definitely we see a lot more changes. That's going to make 7.0 seems like it's going to be different from the last 9 years. I do think that there's a lot of things. There's still they done a lot, but there's still a lot that can change 7.0 onwards. And if they can do that, I mean, like just like Happy, right? I don't mind playing this game for the next 10 years, but I want to play Final Fantasy 14, like Yoshi P say. I want to play Final Fantasy 14 too, which then means that it's a new Final Fantasy. Not too much changes, but new Final Fantasy. The formula, the same thing that we get the last 10 years, we get something different. Like it can be the same quantity, but I want it to be different. And so far, this expansion seems like they are going that route. I think compare this expansion to Shadowbringer, this expansion breaks a lot of things, but the positive outweigh the things that broke. Whereas in Shadowbringer, the pandemic didn't help, but there were more downside in Shadowbringer, more sadness that isn't enough positive to make Shadowbringer felt like it was okay. But this expansion kind of repay like Yoshi P says, right? They know they fucked up in. Again, they shouldn't blame themselves too hard for that because who would have prepared for the pandemic, right? But this expansion so far they've been making it better. Seeing Savage Dungeon is a huge step. Like
it's also extreme dungeons too. It's another thing to mention. It's not just Savage. It is extreme and Savage dungeons.
Yeah. You know when they put out the another criterion and then they're like, oh, this is difficult. I'm like, oh wow, this is difficult.
Yeah,
nice.
Everyone saw variant. And they were like, everyone saw variant and they were like, fuck, never mind. This is shit. I don't want to do this. Like I'll do it once and then whatever. Then they said another and they're like, oh, and then they said Savage, like, oh.
It's like they are not stopping. Which is what I expect. I expected less from Yoshi P. Now, Yoshi P obviously now see.
Did he go silent for it? All right.
Yeah,
Arthars.
You cut out for us.
Arthars, hold on.
You.
I think it's a bit.
You think it's a bit?
I don't know if it's a bit or not.
He was talking about Yoshida there for a second, and like he said,
I don't know if this is a bit.
Them.
I'm so confused.
He just keeps going. I don't know if
he's being I think he's being censored by you. I think it's a bit.
I think so.
I think his headset died. I think his headset died, and he can't hear us anymore. I don't know. Arthas, are you still there?
He just touched it.
Okay.
I think he figured out, okay,
yeah. Because when he goes...
wait, is there the cable? He's typing. What happened?
I mean, he
You
was
don't
so
know.
passionate. He was so passionate.
Like, yeah, he was going so much. He was looking off to the side. He wasn't looking at us. He was just talking and thinking and rolling his thoughts out. I don't know. I was so scared. It was my internet that failed, and then like it finally.
I thought the same thing. I was like, wait, did my headset come unplugged?
I was like, I didn't think he was about to say something that was like such a hot take that it would warrant doing a whole muted bit. But
Yeah, I don't know.
here we are.
And then we just see like Yoshida come in behind him and just pull him by the collar and yank him out. Done with you, kid.
You're banned forever.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll figure it out. Hopefully, oh, he's gonna mess with the cameras, isn't he?
Yeah, he's gonna log out, log back in. I was thinking maybe because when I'm playing Monster Hunter Rise, I use a PS5 controller. When you accidentally plug or unplug a PS5 controller, it screws all your audio settings. He was playing right before this, so I was thinking maybe he has his PS5 controller like right there. I can't wait to hear what he said.
Yeah,
whatever it was.
Yeah,
he might lose it. It might be gone by the time he gets it out.
Yeah.
Might have just left. I mean, these dungeons, I can't wait to see. Honestly, I like dungeon content. I might be one of the few people. Huh?
Did I hear?
Hello?
Hey,
there we go.
Wait, what the hell happened?
So I have a question. Do you have a do you play Monster Hunter Rise with like a PS5 controller or anything on your PC?
No. I use keyboard.
Damn.
My sound just gone suddenly.
Yeah, because I thought that's what it was. Because when a PS5 controller plugs in or out, it does that. So
yeah.
Welcome back. Do you want to say the entire 60 seconds?
I don't know where I don't know where I stopped. God
I
damn
think
it,
you
never
said you
mind.
didn't have faith, or you didn't have as much faith with Yoshida, and then you started talking, and then it kind of cut out right after that.
Let me TLDR it. Like, ever since 2.0, the game been stagnant, right? But then he introduced more things, you know? Like, I knew, he always say he's like a hardcore gamer himself, right? But until Storm's Blood, I didn't really feel it. And then Ultimate came in, and then now adding more Savage Dungeon. I do feel like 7.0 might, Yoshi P might, put in more gamer moments in there, hopefully, yeah.
Okay, you sounded kind of
we thought that we thought it was a bit because you were like, you said Yoshi P and then went quiet. So it was like, oh, is this Yoshi P's banned
Maybe
him
he
or something?
banned me.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, the main reason I was even talking about like the next 10 years, like I'm always on like the side of hoping Final Fantasy 17 is the next MMO, and we started up with no spaghetti code, right? And so that was always my hope for like the last handful of years. But if they're putting such a heavy investment right now into making Final Fantasy 14 a very solid game moving forward, maybe 17 is not something to think about.
No,
much.
They already have 3 MMOs. They're not looking for a fourth.
They are not looking another one.
Yeah.
Why would you? Final Fantasy 14 works. Final Fantasy 14 is actually quite a very good foundation, right? Rather than making a new MMORPG, why don't you just I actually never seen, I mean, I guess I do, but I never really play games that long to see a transition. But if you think about 7.0, potentially there's a lot of upgrades, right? Graphic upgrades, blah, 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 right? I also find it funny that Yoshi P recently talked about he wants to add in new job. At this point, he don't even know how to add in new job. It's just gonna be original. They run out of names. I actually was thinking you don't really need to add in new job. You can just revamp job. Like you look at Machinist, you look at Summoner. They are technical. Okay, Summoner is technically like a new job. You don't really have. You see how Ninja became. You see how they're gonna rework. What is that? Dragoon.
Yeah, Dragoon.
I feel like rather than making, Astro, right? You look at, I think they, rather than making new job, they can just like revamp existing job. Like, let's just say, even if you have an idea of making a new MMO, they don't have to make a new one. They can just use that idea and try to revolutionize, say, 14 into that. Maybe after this next 10 years, Final Fantasy 14 Part 3 will be different. I think a lot of games also do that, right? Other games also got like 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. Maybe, right? Maybe. They don't have to make a new one. No way.
I'm against them not making new jobs. I don't care what they have to pull out their butt.
Yeah.
I need new jobs. Like
they know they need to
Final
from a marketing
Fantasy
perspective.
That's how they sell the game.
Yes, marketing. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Like, there are certain features that are expected with launches. And now that's not to say that they couldn't come up with new innovative features that could be a selling point. But, like, yeah, typically within MMO spaces, there are specific sets of things. And I mean, I agree though that they should keep revamping and they should keep redoing things. My hope too, Frosty, is that if they are going to stick with 14, which it really does seem like they are, and I think they should because the game is gorgeous, it's well done, right? But there are obviously code problems. There are all kinds of weird issues and hangups with UI stuff, with not being able to have a ton of account-wide features that many other MMOs can offer, housing stuff, server load, right? There's all this stuff that does seem like it comes down to some of the code issues. So my hope is that they, with the resources and everything else, are able to dedicate a team to reworking and systematically finding ways to reworking and re-implementing portions of code to make it more flexible for the future. In the past, that's something that I don't know if they've necessarily been able to do because so much of MMOs is also looking forward, right? What are the new features? What's the new expansion? We have to keep growing the game. But right now they are taking a chance to look back. What can we polish? What can we do for even the core game experience? What can we overall do to make this game last another 10 years? Because we are at our peak right now, right? They're not in decline. They are only growing. So investing in that is really important.
Yeah. I will say I would be okay with an expansion without jobs if they did go back and they did a split job, like gave split roles for every job or something like that, like real crazy.
mean,
but
look at
that's a lot of
Reaper.
work.
Reaper is literally Dark Knight. Reaper is Dark Knight, you know?
Yeah, yeah. They could have just made that one job with two different paths of.
They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You're never gonna see them do
but they
that.
don't want to do that again. Yeah, like
don't wanna
Arcanis, right?
Listen,
they don't want to do that now.
I'm telling you, listen, Yoshi P, here, I'll take it easy for you. Just fly me out. I'll do Puppet Master. I'll do it all myself. The weapon is going to be the puppet's head. That's going to be the weapon. And then when you get different, like the ultimate Bahamut, it's going to be a Bahamut head. And then Alexander is going to, I got it. All right. And then the body.
Wait, let me stop you for a second there first. Are you making it a limited job?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
There you go.
That's good.
I'll make
I forgot
it. Listen,
about limited jobs. To be honest with you.
Yeah, many of us have.
I'll do the whole thing, Yoshi P. Just put me on retainer or something. We'll be good. All right.
Well, what if you had to take Blitzball with that?
I don't mind.
It's a sacrifice that needs to be made.
Okay.
If it has to be done. If it has to be done.
Jeez. All right. Well, I mean, we've been going at this for a little while here. Do you guys have anything else talking about the current state of Final Fantasy XIV that we didn't cover that you think might be a good topic to hit before we finish up the show?
Data center travel is fun.
Data center travel is a pretty big topic right now.
Yeah. Yeah, just in general, I was just going to say that it's great that we can do it now. It just continues opening doors for players to engage together and not be bound as much. Hopefully, maybe they can lift some of the restrictions, like none of your FC buffs applying when you're off-world and things like that, or even a future where maybe we could be a part of an FC on one world and that wouldn't even have to be our home world. Like, all those things would be great, but yeah, I just, I'm glad that we get to actually see each other and play together. Although we don't have cross-region yet, it's still really great to actually
I was about to say, except Oceanic Data Center.
Yeah, they're all by themselves.
Material's just like...
I mean, that's okay. I am curious. So is this, forgive my ignorance, this cross-regional, not regional, I guess cross data center in the same region. Is this something that's just Party Finder, or like how are we going?
No, you physically go to. It's like world travel, but you're visiting the whole data center. You can only access the Party Finder on the data center you're currently visiting.
Well, so that's kind of neat and everything. What I would really like is, and if you're in the same region and you queue up for something, you get in the exact same queue with everyone in that same region.
Probably never gonna happen.
Oh no,
that requires mega servers, and I have a feeling they're not gonna mega server anytime soon.
Yeah, it's sad.
This is good enough. This is good enough for now.
How does that work with PvP then?
You can't rank on other data centers.
Okay.
You can't rank at all.
But you could play like the casual, I guess.
You could do custom matches. So like if someone was holding a PvP tournament, you could visit and then join for the custom matches. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Can you do expert dungeon roulette?
Yeah. You can do this. It's other than a couple of like specific limitations, it's the same as visiting another world. You even get a whole new set of cross-world link shells when you visit another data center. You can have 8 cross-world link shells on every data center.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, it's good enough for now, I think.
Okay. I'm cool with it. We'll see how that goes. I'm really excited about getting into PvP again and figuring all that out, and just diving as hard as I can. I'm hoping that you guys will see me in the PvP scene a lot more coming up within the next couple of months. And of course, we have a Savage race, which is going to have to figure out how that works. That's going to be always a whole nother. It's a whole thing to figure out every single time.
Just now, I forgot to ask you guys regarding the Savage race. I feel like this Savage race is gonna just be a race for turn 4. It's gonna end so quickly this time.
If there's no delay, the 630 weapon, if there is actually a melee 630 weapon in play, yeah, it's gonna be a straight sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, what holds up, most of the clears? Is it always DPS checks or is it mechanics?
Mechanics. It's mechanics more than DPS checks. 100%. It's how quick you see it, learn it, get a strategy down for it, and execute it. So,
okay.
But the end is that last few percent is a wall of some kind. And if there's any small DPS checks, like ad phases or whatnot, obviously it helps blast through those.
Do you think it's gonna be a 2-day or 1 day?
2-day. I think it'll still be 2-day, but barely the second day.
I think it's less than 20 hours this time.
It's entirely
1,
possible.
2,
I
3
wouldn't be
is gonna
surprised.
1, 2, 3 is gonna be so fast.
God, I just thought about this. Now I have to. There isn't Aether first and Primal first anymore. It's gonna be literally NA first, EU first, because people can move in Party Finder together. So we can't really even track it that way anymore. People can kind of say, "Oh yeah, we're all from Aether." But there's no enforcement of that anymore, so you can't really rank it in that.
I feel like in the last 2 tiers, it's been less prevalent anyway. I rarely see people talk about being Ether first or Primal first. It's we place 34th, or I don't even see people separating by region when they talk about it for the most part. They just compare to every single other person who's done it. Yeah,
I've seen it a good bit. So we'll see. Oceanic has its own little. Officially now they're not JP anymore, so that's gonna be kind of cool. I know they were looking forward to it. Well, all right. Well, we can go ahead and start wrapping this up. This has been a fantastic, return to doing this show again, and it has felt really, really good. I appreciate all of you guys for coming on and just giving me a moment to just kind of talk it out, have a good time, and. I may be doing some just normal streams on this channel. We'll see how that goes with the incentive thing and everything else that's going on. I can let everybody know one of the biggest things I guess I was kind of sad for was the last World Race. I didn't get a chance to really talk to the World First team. We're going to make that up next weekend, and Neverland's going to come on, and we're going to have a conversation with them. And see kind of where they are now, their thoughts and everything else. And so members from their team will come on and we'll have that World First MogTalk, heavily delayed, but it's happening. And I can go ahead and give you a quick peek, just to let you know we are going to be talking about PvP as well at some point during the month, and we're also going to be talking about the story, really hardcore into the story around the end of the month. And we also might have a secret special show that might happen at an odd time. Don't know yet, but we will see. Just to entice you, the plan is 5 shows this month, and so that means we have to fit it in at some other point because we already lost that one Saturday. Fucking AC, man, dude. Anyways, before we leave, I want you guys all to have a second to, shout out whoever you want to, say whatever you like to say, and we'll start with Arthars first.
Welcome back, man. Frosty, thanks so much for it's been a 5 months of pretty emptiness on a lot of things. Sometimes we didn't know something is missing until we miss it, right? So MogTalk and you definitely is one of those things, for me that has been a void. So I'm glad that you're back. Congratulations again on your kid, everything. Today I just want to give a shout out to you, mainly to you. Yeah. As for me, very simple. You can catch me on twitch.tv/Arthars. My Twitter is Arthars FF14. You can also check out my YouTube, which is also Arthars FF14. Mainly doing a lot of random stuff now. Like 14 is still my main game, but I'm integrating more. I'm going more into variety now. And like Frosty was saying earlier, the AIP is allowing us to do more things on Twitch. So hope everybody get back, stream a lot of things, more MogTalk, more things for me to look out for on the weekend. Yeah.
It means a lot, dude. It really does. And Rook, you want to go?
Yes, I just want to echo Arthas too and say welcome back. It's so exciting and I'm so happy I could make it on. I know we had tried to get me on an app before hiatus and I was so looking forward to it and I'm really, really glad that we were able to make it happen this time. And thank you too for negotiating times and stuff today when we were rescheduling. Honestly, I had so much fun and it was so great to get to talk with both Arthas and Happy. For myself, you can find me and my sirens at twitch.tv Rookery, and that's spelled ROOKURI. You can also find me on YouTube at Rookery, on Twitter at Rookery_, and then Instagram at Rookery as well. I do a ton of different content. I really love MMOs in general, and my two main ones are Final Fantasy XIV and Guild Wars 2, but I love talking about them, so if I'm not live on my own stream, I'm probably co-hosting one of two podcasts, the Lightbringers podcast or Aetheryte Radio with Gamer Escape. And I also have been doing a lot of special appearances recently. So if I'm not live like on my channel, there's a good chance you'll find me somewhere else, be it on podcast or even stuff like Twitch's Crown channel recently where I've been doing some co-hosting and guesting. So I'm always happy to see you wherever you are and have great convos about the games we love.
Awesome. Happy, follow it up, man.
Yeah, nothing interesting for me. No, I'm kidding. It is. I was going to echo the same sentiment as Arthars. As somebody else who, even we took a hiatus from podcasting. We didn't have a kid over on State of the Realm, so it felt doubly as empty because I was like, wait, I'm not on one, and we don't have Frosty. This is sad and depressing, and it's phenomenal to have you back. I'd like to say, you can always reach out if you ever need anything. And I think almost anyone in the community would respond without a shadow of a doubt. So don't forget that, Frosty. Just because you're gone for a few months, you got lots of friends here that appreciate you.
Means a lot.
So
where can people find you? Make sure they can find you.
If you're looking for me, MrHappy, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, main three things.
Okay.
A lot of things going on as of late, whether it be Final Fantasy XIV news, Square Enix news in general, because they've been pumping stuff out like I couldn't believe, especially for the back half of this year. And at the moment, I'm beginning a year-long trek through more of the Final Fantasy franchise than I think I've ever been through before, playing through all the Final Fantasy games like I did a few years ago for Final Fantasy Count Up, with incentives for things like bonus runs, challenge runs like New Game Minus and Final Fantasy XII, 4 White Mage runs and Final Fantasy 1, bonus games like Final Fantasy 3 3D, which is the worst Final Fantasy game ever made. So there's, and then, I guess I can play some of the other ones too. But then there's like Type 0 World of Final Fantasy, and then we'll have Final Fantasy 14 patches. There's so many games, Deofield Chronicles, Star Ocean, Harvestella, God of War. I don't know what's even going to happen the back half of this year. It's going to be absolutely nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And I even have a VOD channel now to upload it all to. So
nice.
Making moves, Frosty.
Did you tell anybody about your show next week?
we got a show. It's called State of the Realm. Not as cool as MogTalk. I can say it. It's fine. He said they're thinking it. It's okay. And Frosty is going to make the show a little bit better. He's going to be on MogTalk this next week. We're going to be getting caught up with him, giving him a little bit more airtime. Here, he likes to listen. On State of the Realm, he gets to talk. That's the big difference between the two.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to, of course, you'll have a little bit more time to absorb the patch between now and then, once your AC is fixed, hopefully, especially. And we'll just be get up to speed with you. And I'm excited for it because I said we could talk anytime, but we both never once. We were like, maybe once said, hey, how you doing? And they're like, yeah, it's great. And then we're like, no, we're too busy. Hold on. I can't do this right now. Can't
Baby
happen.
screaming, all that great stuff.
Yeah.
But
hopefully we'll have a fan fest where we get to see you in person again. Fingers crossed.
Oh yeah, I need it. I need a fan fest.
The next in-person fan fest is gonna be probably one of the most intense ones.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So I'm excited for that. So Friday, State of Realm, Saturday,
Noon.
MogTalk. Yeah, noon for you. And I'll probably be regular time again next week as long as the AC is fixed and everyone's okay. Although a lot of the guests are going to be from EU, so maybe we will back it back down. We'll see how that works out. But man, it has been fantastic to be here again. Again, it means so much, you guys. All your words, everything means wonders. I've turned on the stream to test to make sure my internet was stable last night, and then like people just showed up and they're like, "Hey, what's up?" The title was "Please don't come here." Of course, people come anyways. So yeah, it's been fantastic being here and being able to talk to everybody again. And I look forward to the next few weeks of going through all this. And yeah, that's about it. I guess we can go and wrap this up. It feels kind of sad doing so, but we'll go and we'll play one more set of ads, then roll the credits, and then you are all free to go have as much fun as you want out in the world of Final Fantasy XIV. Guys, thank you again, everybody. Oh, one thing. I want to do this. Can everybody make a face for the thumbnail for the show? Whatever face you want to make right now, so I don't have to search for it. You know, just make a face. That would be really great on a thumbnail for MogTalk. Just
Together at the same time?
yeah, do it now. Okay, I can work with that. All right, good stuff. And then you guys all remember to be good, keep cool, stay frosty. Bye, guys.
Where's the wave?
Oh, everybody wave! Yeah, there we go. Save me.